And streaming online and in the Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester, an Odyssey sports station.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Ambers. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
A very good afternoon to you as we welcome you on into the sports bar. Danger and Battaglia. The Major League Baseball postseason has begun. We've got the games on. I've got snacks. The Cubs are going to throw out first pitch here in a little bit. I'm Danger. That's Battaglia.
I'm at peace with this. I'm a little surprised. Yeah, I thought I would be. No, I'm not watching anything, but I think when your team dies a slow death and when it comes to the end and you do the obit, I don't think there's any Met fan that doesn't feel the same way that I do right now.
So I'm on a thread with a bunch of psychotic New York sports fans, and there are Yankee fans in this thread. There are also Mets fans in this thread. And all season long, I just watch them just jaw at each other. I don't really participate in the jawing back and forth, but there's a lot. There's a lot of jawing going on, especially given this season with Soto leaving the Yankees to go to the Mets. So the Yankee fans feel like they have one on the Mets fans. But this morning, one of the Yankee fans in this thread just posted a video of himself wearing his Yankees jerseys, Yankees ball cap. He's like, isn't it a beautiful day for baseball? Isn't it a beautiful day for baseball? And that's really all that, like, there's still baseball going on. And if you're a Mets fan, unfortunately, you don't really have a rooting interest. Maybe you're rooting for the Red Sox.
I want to appreciate everybody that's sending me messages to, like Kate and Hannah. You met Hannah at camp there, Danger.
Oh.
Sending me the meme. This has been going around. Congratulations to the Mets. They've clinched. Time with friends and family. All this.
Can we check in a New York City sports talk where Don LaGreca absolutely had a meltdown. An absolute meltdown.
He's right. Like all the displaced anger at Manfred or the system, or there should have been a game for the tiebreaker. You knew the rules going in. And the idea that the Marlins were celebrating, and I like every other Met fan, I love Gary and Ron and Keith, and they were wagging their finger at that.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
No, that was very baseball writer-esque.
When you're the second highest payroll and you just got beat by the lowest payroll, it means something to them. They should celebrate. They just ruined your holiday. They just ruined your season.
And the whole stadium is Met fans. Everybody's like, all right, let's go down for the weekend, fellas. And nobody goes to Marlin games down there.
Yeah. No, the Met fans were funding the payroll for the Marlins in that game, and they should celebrate. They should take the picture. Why is that bad? The collapse was epic. That was another just bad Mets choke job. But here we are, Gino, and we've got a great game in Cleveland with the Tigers right now, the top of the eighth, holding a 2-1 lead. A little suicide squeeze play to get that 2-1 lead.
Yeah, Schoolbowl, outstanding. The way he was coming off the mound in the seventh, though, kind of leads me to believe, I don't know if he's coming out for the eighth. Like 7 strong, can the bullpen hold on here for Detroit? This will be fun today, everyone, because I get to see you now in action after – and the 2020, weird. Okay, we're not counting that. I barely remember anything about those playoffs other than Manfred.
2020.
The rave challenges.
20. It's so terrible. I have that. Where is that?
That was the last time before today the Cubs were actually in a playoff game. In 2020.
Right.
Oh, no. Did we delete it?
No, I have it.
2020.
Yeah, 2020, you were faced with an array.
2020 is going to be remembered.
Take a punch to the face.
Thank you.
And then you have one ass kiss clapping his hands furiously in the background.
Like no other.
Wearing his mask.
Our clubs, and especially our players, were presented with an array of unique challenges.
We're not going to get that anymore.
Sweet music
that was
to my ears.
Just fantastic.
Yeah.
Bravo to you. That was in Dallas at the Texas Rangers facility where they had the World Series that year.
By the way, the Rangers firing Bruce Bochy after they won the series in 23. There is no patience. Zero. Like, what have you done for me lately?
That's one where they offered him a spot upstairs. Like, if I'm a Met fan, I would welcome Bruce Bochy, except the Mets are going to keep Mendoza. Back to your Cubs. Everyone, we get to see Mike Danger, how he reacts in real time when the Cubs are playing a postseason game.
Yeah,
okay?
I'm going to try and stay focused, Gino. I really am. I mean, we have a great show this afternoon, and yeah, we'll keep you updated on the scores.
You can flip that over. The Cub game starts right now here.
I know, but we flipped it over before, and it was still in a soap opera. I'm wondering if there's anybody get upset that their stories aren't going to be on or what's normally on ABC in the afternoon. You get like the Jennifer Hudson show, or
yeah. I remember this from a few years ago. We're watching Cardinals and Phillies. And again, we mark time with sports. And, well, not only do you get the soaps preempted, you get the local news preempted. And it was the last day for Ginny Bryant or whatever. It's like, oh, my gosh, we got to wait for poor Ginny to.
Yeah.
Oh, that was just bad.
Yeah, that wasn't great.
That was bad. Well, this is going to be like this time next year, Danger. I don't know who's getting this round, to be honest, the wild card. It's going to be all different next year.
That's right. Great show lined up, as I was mentioning. Michael F. Florio talks some fantasy football from NFL Network. Boy, there's now with 4 weeks in the rearview mirror in the NFL. We've got bye weeks in play. We've got different situations unfolding, more data points to connect to, and Michael F. Florio will help you go out and get the right players from the waiver wire, shape out your roster, and get you a W in Week 5. He's stopping by the sports bar, his usual Tuesday afternoon spot here at 4:25. And then later this hour, man, I feel like I haven't talked to Perino since St. John Fisher. Matt Perino, the Syracuse Post-Standard, covering the Bills. We'll get his thoughts on the win from Sunday against the Saints and look ahead to Sunday night when New England comes to town. Matt Perino stopping by, as he does every Tuesday at 3:25.
That's a you problem, buddy. Matt has been there answering the bell every week here. So Matty will be joining us here at the bottom of the hour as Bills looking to go 5-0. Although this is a Patriot team I think we're all going to take seriously now. Matt coming up at the bottom of the hour. You're always welcome to join us at 866-4FAN, 866-4326. What's the bigger storyline coming out of Monday Night Football, Danger? Is it, my gosh, the Bengals actually might be cooked here. That looks unsalvageable. Are we talking about the Dolphins not moving off of Tyreek Hill in a timely fashion? Maybe Denver at 2-2, something to go from? I'm okay with the two Monday night games here. I thought that they were okay.
Yeah, I mean, they weren't as competitive as I would have liked them to have been. I think that the Dolphins and Jets, just turnovers and just sloppy kind of play. The Hill injury is gruesome, and you feel bad because he is whatever your feelings might be about him as a human, as a player, he was electric, man. He was an electric player to watch, a lot of fun to watch. I mean, we personally probably don't like a lot of what Tyreek Hill did on the field because some of it happened against the Buffalo Bills, but Tyreek Hill, you have to wonder if this is the end. I mean, this is a tough injury to come back from with a dislocated knee, the torn ACL, other ligaments that are in there, and he was in surgery today. But the Dolphins get their first win of the season, 27-21. And I don't think it was as close as the score indicated.
No,
obviously.
they had the garbage time touchdown to Garrett Wilson. Nice catch, but the Jets jetting. What is it when you become a Jets head coach that I'm looking at Glenn last night? He looks like the same as Saleh. Saleh, fiery defensive coordinator in everybody's face, and then he gets to the Jets, and then just have this glaze on your face. I'm like, gosh, this is. You're only 4 weeks into this, bud.
I mean, it wasn't very long ago that they were returning, special teams return for a touchdown, and you thought that they were going to beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers just to see the Buccaneers go down and kick a game-winning field goal. That was Aaron Glenn dancing on the sideline. Like high-stepping on the sideline. Like Aaron Glenn looked like that week he looked like he was the guy you wanted to party with. Invite Aaron Glenn to your wedding. He's going to be a great time. Not anymore.
Yeah, that's what you want to see, right? And then last night, I don't know what to make of it. If I'm Brandon Beane, and you work in sales, you have your hit list. I'm sure that right now they have a board of guys that they've had at least exploratory talks. Maybe guys that, all right, would this guy be available? You're making that round of calls today. There might be a GM that last night just kind of a friendly reminder that, hey, we have this asset, but we're going to hold on to him, make sure we get what we want, which is certainly fair. But ask the Miami Dolphins how that worked out for Tyreek Hill. Would Tyreek Hill have been a Miami Dolphin in Week 18 this season? I was going to guess no. I thought if the Dolphins were being honest with themselves, you move Tyreek Hill, maybe he goes to the Chiefs, maybe he goes to the Steelers, maybe he goes somewhere else. And, Danger, I'm just wondering that if kind of a byproduct of last night, does the trade market get pulled ahead a little bit by a GM that might be acting a little emotional, realizing, hey, maybe I should move this asset before, things like that could happen.
Yeah, I wonder if that happens with GMs or if they just kind of know what they want. They are ready to go shopping and ready to offer what they have to offer in order to get a deal done. It felt like for a while there the NFL trade deadline was going to be something that was a little bit more exciting, and we've had some moves in past years, and certainly Brandon Beane has been a part of that. But it never feels like the big blockbuster happens at the trade deadline, right? Like the kind of deal that we had to start the season with Micah Parsons going from Dallas to Green Bay isn't the kind of deal we're going to see when the trade deadline comes around.
Well, and part of it, too, last year it actually did start early, and that was courtesy of the New York Jets because they, strange as it sounds, they were still contending last year. You had Aaron Rodgers making noise, and they lose to the Buffalo Bills, and Mike Williams falls down on a route, and that was the backbreaker for Rodgers. He brings in Devontae Adams. I looked it up. The date of that trade, October 15th. So that was basically 3 weeks ahead of the deadline. So it's not unprecedented that we could have trades here in October. And then shortly thereafter, all right, the Bills realizing, all right, maybe we got to get Amari Cooper here and not wait till the deadline. I'm sure Brandon B didn't want to give up a third-round pick. And in retrospect, probably not getting the value for that pick.
Did not work out.
No.
Did not work out. I mean, you had somebody there that you thought could maybe contribute, and he had a couple of plays. So I don't want to say it was a complete wash, but certainly not worth a third-round pick. I think actually from last night, Gino, I think the bigger story, the Hill injury is devastating, and we could wonder what if the Chiefs had traded for Hill when they knew they weren't going to have Xavier Worthy. Xavier Worthy, by the way, looked no worse for the wear. He looked pretty good on Sunday against a bad Ravens defense. I think the bigger story from last night is just how devastating the Bengals are. They are horrible. The Bengals are a shell of themselves without Joe Burrow. That defense is as bad as advertised. And by the way, when you look at the rest of the AFC North and you see that Lamar is going to miss some time now and their defense is putrid in Baltimore, the Steelers all of a sudden are the best team in the AFC North. Gino, this, from a Bills point of view, this shapes out so nice for the Buffalo Bills. If you were worried about the Bengals later this season, don't be. If you were worried about the potential of seeing the Ravens again in the postseason, the way it looks right now, good luck. They might not make the postseason.
I'm actually rooting that 425 game on December 7th gets flexed to 1 o'clock. Like, if it's going to be that bad for the Bengals and they're a shell, maybe the coach gets fired at some point. Burrow, yeah, he ain't going to be back by then. So, your point.
The Bengals have been outscored 76-13 the last two games. Last night they were outgained by the Broncos by 353 yards, the largest margin in any NFL game this year. You have Jamar Chase, you have T. Higgins, and you don't have a quarterback that can get them the rock with any consistency. You've gone all in on your wide receivers and your quarterback. You have no protection, and you certainly have no defense. The Bengals are a disaster.
So, kind of ties in nicely because you know what's coming up at 4 o'clock.
I didn't want to bury the lead.
We are on to October. You haven't been here the last 3 Thursdays, Danger. Tuesdays, I should say. What day? I'm so excited for this. I don't know what day of the week it is. Yes, we are on to Week 5. We will give you our Week 5 winner, and unlike some other weeks, we have options. And the fun part about this, Danger doesn't know where I'm going with this.
No, I don't know what your pick is.
No, like, do we violate the rules as you're kind of teasing here?
Yeah.
And that line, by the way, went from 8 to 10.
Yeah.
Lions now favored by 10.
I saw 10.5, and I thought, are the Lions at home? And I'm like, no, God, they're a road team. They're in Cincinnati.
They're in Cincinnati.
Now, Timmy Parmesan was texting me earlier, one of my neighbors. You hear me talk about my neighbors every now and then, right? You've heard me mention some of them. There's Timmy Parmesan, Doug, Richie C. There's Nick. There's Tony. There's Mike. There's Cuse. There's Tony. There's Rob the Takesman. There's Tony. There's Tom. And his name is escaping me.
Tony.
That's right. There is a Tony.
There's also Tony Gazzetta. So there's Tony and Tony. There's Tonys you don't know in your neighborhood.
Timmy Parmesan was like, what's the pick? He was thinking Detroit. I saw that line. I'm like, a double-digit road favorite. That feels too good to be true. We'll discuss when we give Geno Survive an advanced pick.
And you can verify. You don't know where I'm going.
I do not know. I do not know. I have a feeling you and I are going to diverge, though. We're gonna go on separate paths because I'm pretty high on how the Lions have been playing, and I don't know that I've seen a worse team in the NFL the last couple of weeks than the Cincinnati Bengals. They look bad.
Well, I guess in that regard, we can identify the bad teams and just kind of pick on them.
Right.
And just don't fall into the trap.
Except then you look and see, like, okay, well, who are the Jets playing? Oh, they're playing Dallas. Like,
Who are the Saints playing? Oh, the Giants.
Right. So there's a couple of bad teams that you would normally pick on. You don't want to be too cute, but I think the Bengals, even though their record doesn't say they're as bad as the Jets or the Saints, they look bad. That's a lost organization right now.
I will say this. We're watching Cubs and Padres. They're in the bottom of the first, and that setting on the final day in September, Danger, baseball writer would have to love this right now. Wrigley Field.
I really do like it. I think it's great when you go to a classic ballpark like Wrigley Field and you can enjoy a hot dog and some Cracker Jacks, with your favorite companion there next to you. If you're a nice guy, you'd probably let it go and just go and enjoy the game. I can't believe you would bring up Wrigley Field and distract me. I'm trying to do a show. I'm not trying to pay attention to the game. But if you were a nice guy, maybe you would just say, give me a score and update every now and then. Excuse me. John Heyman, baseball writer.
Should we invite John Heyman for S's and giggles at some point back on the show?
I'm sorry. I was on your show once already. I remember coming on the Fan Utica, and I don't think I enjoyed my time. This whole thing has been a disaster, and I'm never doing it again.
We're actually in Rochester, not Utica here.
That's what I said. The Fan. Excuse me. That's what I said. The Fan Binghamton, and I'm never doing it again. This whole thing has been a disaster. You and everybody else over there. I can't believe you would question my integrity as a baseball writer. Can't believe it. Do we have to explain?
Briefly, yeah, John Heyman went on WFAN New York and got himself wound up and
broken a lot of stories. I think the reason that got such play is because people believe everything I tweet. I've had 100,000 tweets, and you get one that was wrong, and it did say appears, and I know I rushed it, and it was a big mistake, and I regret it. But it's 2 years later.
No regrets.
I think
it's like
at some point, I think someone could probably drop it if they're a nice person.
what I think is one. It just like how I introduced you. Everybody in baseball knows who you are. So one, it's a credit to your work, your following,
Yeah.
and how.
By the way, I won't be going on with you again. The whole thing has been a disaster.
That's okay.
I can't even believe you said that to question my integrity.
Are you being serious right now,
I'm being serious, yeah.
John?
Asking me if I'm getting a cut because I have a relationship with an agent. That's
Well, since
outrageous. I know you're not a journalist. You don't know anything about this. I know you don't, but that's an outrageous
It's
comment. You should know that
it's
much.
Friday night at 8:30, John.
You should
and,
know that much.
And I am
I'm
not.
done with you,
I am
and
not
I'm
taking
done with
this that
WFAN.
serious.
Goodbye.
John, thank you for
I
joining
can't
us,
even
John.
believe it.
Thank
I
you,
can't
John.
even believe it.
Thank you, John. Appreciate your time. He's got to get to bed. I did not expect it to go that way.
That's Keith. That's our guy.
Keith McPherson.
He's the best.
Yeah, he is the best.
He was talking about Arson Judge, which is like, if you're a baseball fan, you like laugh. I can't call him Aaron Judge anymore. I still call him Arson Judge.
Yeah, look, there has to be rules. That's something you're known for. You own it and move on. We had Gus Farad on the show, but we did it on one condition. He was doing a podcast like, Gus, like, we're going to have to just at least address you the one game when you knocked yourself out by banging your head against the wall.
Concussed himself.
Concussed himself. Like, if that's what you're known for. And we did it. And we kind of moved on.
Yeah, and we had a laugh about it.
Yeah.
This guy takes himself so damn seriously. I can't believe it.
Yeah, all he had to do is
if you're a nice guy, you would let it go. I made a mistake. It happens. I have 100,000 tweets. I have many followers. Everybody believes everything I say because I'm a credible journalist. You have no idea. I can't believe you. He sucks. Just lighten up. Lighten up a little bit. The guy is having fun with you. And he didn't cause, by bringing up Arson Judge, like, you have to own that. And he has owned it, but to still get upset if somebody brings it up, let it go. I thought you would let it go. No. Not a fan. But he's got to be loving this setting. I mean, this is a big day for baseball, right?
Oh, baseball, right?
4 games.
So excited.
I mean, maybe pushing back a little bit because it is the wild card round. It is the expanded playoffs, and not a big fan of that. More traditional, right?
Right. Like, you should only be a champion from the American and a champion from the National, Mike Danger. Mm-hmm. Well, maybe we'll hear from baseball right or later in the show.
Yeah, today. Possibly. Yeah. America, as you know, Gene, has been rolled by like an army of steamrollers. It's been erased like a blackboard rebuilt and erased again, but baseball has marked the time.
I like that so much better when you would read that in a different voice, but I digress.
We got to get to Matt Perino covering the Buffalo Bills for the Syracuse Post-Standard, the Shout podcast. We'll get his thoughts on Sunday's matchup. Sunday night with the new threads, the Nike rivalry uniforms get unveiled for the Buffalo Bills. We'll have that and more. Your call's always welcome as well at 866-4326, 585-866-4FAN.
Sports Update.
Some breaking Bills news here in the sports bar as the Bills sign punter Mitch Wisnowski. He is a former 49er. Cameron Johnson going on injured reserve. This according to Pro Football Talk. We'll talk to Matt Perino, Shout Podcast Syracuse Post-Standard, coming up next here in the sports bar. It is day one of the Major League Baseball playoffs tonight in the Bronx, the Yankees and Red Sox. Yankees sending Max Fried to the mound. Garrett Crochet is the starter for the Red Sox.
Fun. It's exciting. Hard to know what my emotions will be like until it happens. But, right now, like I said, I'm just trying to treat it like it's another start. I've pitched here twice already this year and faced this lineup 4 times. I don't want to say it's comfortable because it's a tough opposing lineup, but there's a sense of comfort there. And
Padres have gone up on the Cubs 1-0. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, the Fan, Rochester.
No chaser. You're in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
I will say this, like
idea.
Every other sports update person gets to hit the buttons on their own, but the way it's set up here, you do that, and then as I'm calling for the bite, I'm waving my hand like, oh no. The Padres were scoring right then and there.
It's a bad idea. I'm completely distracted. I'm a shell of myself as an employee because you got the Cubs game on. I'm sorry.
I couldn't even squeeze in Tigers leading the Guardians 2-1. They go to the ninth.
I like, those signs that say, how many days you've had since an incident. We should get one here for the sports bar. We would flip it now to 0 days since we've had a sports update incident. We apologize. Sorry, Gino. I'll do better. Matt Perino covering the Bills for the Syracuse Post-Standard and the Shout podcast. For some hot punter talk, we go to Matt Perino because we want to learn more about the new punter here, Mitch Wishnowski, who looks like he spent some time with the Niners for the better part of 6 seasons. Welcome back in, Matt. How are you, bud?
I am great, and I hope that we're planning on spending a grand total of 25 seconds on the punter.
That's it.
Okay. I'm all in that. Let's go.
That's it. I will say the former punter getting out there and holding with a hurt knee, Matt. And then I'm done with that. That there you go. Matt, 4-0, but we get the sense that everybody's looking at this and asking, hey, is this championship quality? Are there some of the issues that still kind of linger from last year? And if you're just kind of taking a big picture view, are you glasses more than half full here, Matt, or are we looking at things a little differently?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look around the league right now, outside of the Chiefs that, coming off a performance where they kind of look for the Chiefs for the first time in a while, every AFC contender is going through some type of catastrophe. I thought the Bengals were going to be back in a way this season. I thought the Baltimore Ravens were one of the best teams in the league, and both of those teams are sitting at spots after 4 weeks where you're starting to question if maybe they will even make the playoffs. I mean, there's a scenario where if the Baltimore Ravens lose the next 3 games, if Lamar Jackson misses the next 3 games, sitting at 1-6, that's going to be tough because the Steelers are just going to win enough games probably, right? They always win. They always go 500, and I think that they've shown so far that they're a little bit better than they've been the last couple of years, and I think Aaron Rodgers has stabilized things a little bit, as crazy as that is to say, and I think the offensive line is a little bit better there. But for the Bills, it's just been nitpicking all of these little things. They're a team that is in this last game, without Ed Oliver, Matt Milano, Maxwell Hairston still working his way back. You got Michael Hoyt and Larry Ogunjobi, 2 prime free agent additions this offseason that I think that they targeted for specific purposes. I think Ogunjobi for his ability to pass rush from the 3 technique spot, and then Hoyt as kind of like a chess piece that could potentially reshape what the Bills do defensively. And I think until we have that full picture, I'm hesitant to say the sky is falling when you have a team that offensively has been able to do whatever they want on the ground. They haven't really had to force Josh Allen to put the Superman cape on other than a few times over the last couple of weeks and, of course, in the Baltimore game. And that's always in your back pocket. And, oh, by the way, even as they've kind of, quote-unquote, struggled at times, they're still averaging 30 points a game.
So are we spoiled? But I kind of like where we are because I think to myself, we either spoiled or we're doing what they're doing in Philadelphia right now. They're also 4-0. They're the champs. They were the best team in the NFL last year, and they're scrutinizing the offense because it doesn't look right. And I guess we're doing this with the Bills' defense, but it's not that it doesn't look right. It looks the same. It looks like it's always looked with Sean McDermott. Are we believing that some of these additions and a little bit of health and maybe some luck is enough to get this defense to be championship caliber when it gets time for them to step up in January?
I think you need some of those pieces back that I just mentioned. And I think the other piece of this, too, is you're really hoping that Cole Bishop is going to start to turn into the player that they drafted him to be. Like, I think that is a huge, critical piece. When you go back to 2-3 seasons ago, when I feel like this Bills defense was at its apex of power, of how good it was, they depended on all-pro play from two safeties that played so seamlessly together. And I think one of the big differences now is that you don't have that. And I've actually been overwhelmed with how poorly Taylor Rapp has played through 4 games. And that's a question. I thought going into the year, we were all talking about who is going to be the guy that plays with Rapp. And now I think the conversation is slowly turning to, do you got to throw Hancock out there with Bishop at some point if Taylor Rapp doesn't get better? And I don't necessarily think that I've started that conversation. Ryan and I have definitely not started that conversation yet. And again, I want to see what this looks like whole week 7, week 8. I think the real test is going to be, how does this defense look if it's close to whole against the Chiefs in a couple of weeks? That to me is the real barometer with where this thing is at. Until then, they're just kind of, I know the line that's been thrown around a lot is the Bills like to play with their food a little bit. Joe Brady spams some play calls that he likes, that he thinks that can be successful in games, and sometimes that's created a little bit closer games with lesser opponents. Sure, that's all in play here, but I also think they're trying to figure out offensively, I thought Josh Palmer was going to be a bigger part of this thing early in the season. That hasn't materialized yet, and I'm not that disappointed in it because I think we've seen the best 4-game stretch of Dalton Kincaid. This is what I think we all were hoping he was going to be when he was a rookie. It's taken him a couple of seasons, but I think there's trust there. I mean, that's a big-time play late in the game, and I'm advocating for 10 targets-ish per game for him. It's never going to happen in this offense. I think that's where, we've seen Joe Brady long enough to see that they're going to spread the wealth around. I mean, I'd probably take 7 or 8 per game. I don't think they want a game where that he has 2 targets and one of them ends up being a really important one. But I don't know if you guys listened back to Joe Brady's press conference on Monday, but he was taking a lot of the responsibility for some of this. Like he looked up in the fourth quarter and realized, oh, hey, I haven't gotten the ball to Dalton Kincaid at all yet. And I know Josh Allen is the quarterback and he determined some of that. But I think that there's just so many different tools in the toolbox for Brady that I think at times the everyone eats mantra, the one setback to that is it's hard to get everybody at the table to eat. You're looking to get 70 to 80%, and then there's going to be odd players out. And one of those guys has been Ray Davis, who, Brady was pretty critical of himself for not getting Ray Davis more involved over the first 4 weeks.
Back to the defense here, Matt, because we did see a couple series out there with Dorian Strong. Now, the Saints really didn't go in his direction, but I'm just curious where this storyline goes because anybody wants to get on Tre'Davious White. I think this is kind of what you should have expected, right? But he wasn't going to be the plan. It should have been Maxwell Harrison. So your thoughts, could you see Dorian Strong week by week getting a little bit more of a taste here?
I mean, if it doesn't get better, that's going to be something that I think continues to be a talking point. And I know that Sean is probably trying to protect Tre'Davious to a degree and mentioning that they want to get a look at a younger player. But, I mean, history shows that if a guy's playing well, that guy's going to be playing. And I think Strong played really well in that first game. I thought he looked really good in the 15 snaps that he got yesterday. And I also think it comes down to, what do the Bills think for Maxwell Hairston? What's the legitimate timeline here? Do they think he can actually help them and potentially get on the field and play this season? And what that's going to eventually look like. Because, the other piece of this thing too is, if you think Hairston could be ready in 2 or 3 weeks to really come back, get ramped up in practice and maybe get back on the field, maybe you'd like to see what he looks like out there a little bit as well. So I think there's a lot at play here. I also think that, Trey's had some struggles, but I don't want to discount some of the really good plays he's had too. There was a tackle for a loss against the Dolphins. There was a really big contested play on third down that stopped the tight end before the first down. Like, those are big time plays that you want to see from your number 2 cornerback. Has it all been perfect? No, I don't think it's going to be at this stage in his career. But the more good plays that he adds up versus some of the negative plays, I think that's a good thing too. And you may just need him, because who's to say that they don't go back to Dorian Strong, put him in a spot, and maybe he struggles at some point or hits a rookie wall down the line. There's so many scenarios where I don't think you're discarding Trey White because there's been a couple of games with some mistakes.
Matt, there was a lot made of one word that Sean McDermott used in his time with the media last week, and that word was if. If Max Hairston comes back this year. And with the window now open for them to resume practicing after the 4 weeks, being on IR, I guess I'm curious. I mean, do you think there is a chance? I mean, McDermott historically has been very conservative with how he rolls out his players, from injury, coming back from injury. Do you think that there is a chance that this rookie year is more of a red shirt year for Hairston with the injury?
Do I think there's a chance? Definitely. I mean, that was, an injury. And whenever you're talking about a knee for like a player, like a cornerback or a wide receiver that has to put that kind of pressure on the knee to play the position, I think it's always worth wondering, how much at 100% is he going to be when he does finally get back? And so they're using a huge brace on his knee as he starts to ramp things up here, and we'll see how long he wears that. He's not going to be able to wear that, at cornerback out on the boundary once he gets back out on the field. So I think it's going to be about testing that thing out. I do think there's a sense that they have to see how he responds to everything. Like, each stage of the rehab process, like putting a little bit more pressure day by day on the knee to see how he handles it. And I mean, I'm not a doctor, but you could get to a point, right, like where you're starting to feel better. I know just for myself, when I had like a little bit of a knee issue playing pickup basketball, and you go back and it feels good for a day or two, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh man, it's starting to hurt the same exact way once again. So I don't know, it's an unpredictable thing, and he's very much behind from just a practice rep perspective. So even if, say, he starts to practice as early as next week, how many weeks of practice is he going to need to get himself back to a place where they'd even consider giving him a game day jersey and then even consider getting him on the field?
Matt Perino, Syracuse Post-Standard Shout podcast is our guest. Matt, who are the New England Patriots? I guess this is going to be kind of our journey we'll explore this week. They're 2-2. If they come into Buffalo and win this one, only one back, and they would have the division win. So things could change in that regard. They have a head coach in Mike Vrabel that certainly has gone against the Bills once or twice, has had some success. So in this early rebuild, and I'm going to just kind of throw last year out altogether, again, from what you're kind of reviewing here, what kind of opponent is coming to Buffalo here on Sunday night?
Yeah, I think it's the best quarterback that they've faced since Lamar, and Drake May has been – I mean, listen, I get that it's been a rough couple of years for Patriots media members and fans. Some of them are starting to talk about like, oh, is this – these are kind of MVP numbers for Drake May. I think we got to slow down the bus a little bit there. But he's been really good. And I think coming on the road here – this will be the real true test to see where he is in year two. He's been the best year two quarterback. Part of the problem is Jaden Daniels has missed a couple of weeks, but I think he's taken a step from even last season with the way he commands that team. They don't run the ball a ton, which is interesting because they spent that draft pick on Travion Henderson. He looks explosive. I wonder if they start to kind of utilize him a little bit more. But from a run defense perspective, on the other side of the ball, the Patriots aren't great, and I think that's one of the strengths that the Bills have. They brought in Milton Williams at the defensive tackle spot, who had a huge Super Bowl for the Eagles last year. He's more known as a pass rusher, but combining him with Christian Barmore, how are the Bills going to handle those two in the middle? Because I thought where things maybe broke down at times against the Saints was in the middle. Ryan Vandermark had a couple of snaps early, but I thought as things went along, that's where problems started to pop up. But in terms of pressure, this has been the best offensive line in the league in terms of allowing the least amount through 4 weeks. So I don't know. It's a plucky young team with a really good first-round quarterback. I think it's definitively the second-best team in the AFC East, which I thought they were going to be coming into the season. But on the road against the Bills, do they get Ed Oliver back? That's going to be a big thing we're watching for tomorrow to see if he starts to practice, because I think they miss him. Like, when he's not out there, you feel it. And I think that this entire defense could get a kind of a shot in the arm if he's able to come back and play against the Patriots on Sunday.
Matt, what kind of a reception do you think Stephon Diggs gets, not just from the fans, but what are your expectations for him on the field as well?
That's a good question. I do think there's like a feeling of disappointment for how that ended, and maybe some of the weirdness around his relationship with Josh that I don't think Bills fans are very fond of the way that it all ended. But you have to wonder, does Josh Allen ever become Josh Allen without Stephon Diggs? I mean, he really was the jump off. We started to see an ascension in 2019 before he got here with the John Brown and Cole Beasley and remaking the offensive line and all those things. But Diggs really took this offense to the next level, and Josh has always been very complimentary of him for that. And so I think there's probably a level of appreciation. The problem for Diggs is, as opposed to or different than when he was with the Texans last year, now he's playing for the Patriots. And there couldn't be a more hated team to be coming to Buffalo, wearing a jersey of. And so I think that there's going to be a little bit of contempt, a little bit of energy behind how he gets treated. And he plays into that a little bit too. Like, I remember, he was very boisterous and very chirpy. I remember it was against the Patriots in their house. The Patriots went up early and the Bills started to make their comeback, and he had that one touchdown, and he was yelling at everybody in the front row and pointing at them. And you wonder if there could be any kind of those exchanges. But I don't know, because there's been some real loving exchanging interactions with former Bills. So we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, Bills and Patriots coming up, and when you look at the AFC overall, man, my gosh, in a lot of this injury, I mean, Cincinnati is a disaster right now. Baltimore now going to be without Lamar for a few weeks. Okay, Kansas City's hanging around, but if it's not this year, when? In regards to the Buffalo Bills earning the number 1 seed.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, it was already set up like that before the season, before all these, things that have popped up. I do think the Chargers, who are dealing with their own injuries on their offensive line, but as long as those aren't season enders, I think they're a legitimate Super Bowl contender. I think the Chargers are going to win the AFC West. And so if the Bills win their division and then win the conference, the number 1 overall seed, there could be a scenario where, the Chiefs are a wild card team going on the road in the opening round. That could be an outcome, and that could be really interesting if after all of these years, if it doesn't end up being the Chiefs that the Bills have to go through to get to the Super Bowl. That would be quite a story. Now, 3-1 Chargers, 2-2 Chiefs. There's a long season to go, but there's so many different outcomes. But I don't think we've ever been sitting here in the Sean McDermott, Josh Allen era after 4 games feeling as good about the spot that the Bills are in as Bills fans should feel right now.
And given what we've seen out of the rest of the division, we'll certainly see more from New England on Sunday. But if the Bills do get over on New England, are we predicting the Bills clinch the division by Thanksgiving? I mean, it's got to be by Thanksgiving, right?
I don't know. I think even if the Bills win this game, I still think the Patriots are going to hang around. And I say hang around just probably more so mathematically, because at that point they'd be 2-3. The Bills would be 5-0. They'd have one up in the head-to-head. So I don't know. The Bills still have some some tough games. I think Atlanta on the road, I know that they got their doors blown off by the Panthers a couple weeks ago, but what they do well offensively, depending on where the Bills are at health-wise, that could present some problems. I mean, Bijan Robinson is going to be a legit – he feels like he has finally come into his powers, like this season, like last season into this season, and that's going to be a real challenge for the Bills. And, Michael Penix against the Sean McDermott defense, there are numbers that suggest young quarterbacks struggle in their first matchup against the Bills. But again, like I mentioned earlier, a lot of those games happened during the Poyer-Hyde era. And so, another way the Bills could go if Taylor Rapp doesn't get things going. I mean, they have Jordan Poyer sitting there on their practice squad. Maybe they throw him out there with Bishop and see what it looks like mid-season.
I just heard Gene. You heard Gene groan, right? You heard that? That was Gene groaning at the thought of.
No, he's right. I mean, I could see it happening, man.
It's been that bad, hasn't it, with Rapp? I didn't think we'd get to this point with him. That I'm even suggesting that because I was kind of lukewarm on the idea of bringing Poyer back, but I don't know. Could it be worse? I mean, maybe. I guess you should never say that, right?
Yeah. Matt Perino. Last one for me, Matt. Not only are we going to have to kind of recalibrate with what the Bills are wearing on the field, do you think this is going to work for folks who haven't heard the story? The Bills are asking everyone in attendance on Sunday night to wear white. Like this is going to be Happy Valley. And I would just say, well, it kind of gets a little chilly in October in the evening.
Yeah. I like when stadiums they do one color like that. Like that could be pretty cool. I don't necessarily know if it's like a mimic of did somebody say it was a mimicking of the Penn State thing?
No, nobody said that. That's the one school that I could think of.
Nobody's
that does the
calling it
a
whiteout, but it could certainly look like a whiteout if the team is saying everybody needs to wear white to match the uniforms.
It could be cool. I don't know. The jersey themselves. What did you guys think about the jersey? I thought the jerseys looked pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm a fan.
There's been some really I hated the Arizona Cardinals one. The ones that looked like they had mud on them.
Disgusting.
What was the deal with those?
Yeah, they look. You know what they look like? They look like taco tortillas, like tortillas that you would make a soft shell taco with. Now, when you look at them up close, you won't be able to unsee it. They look like tortillas. The Arizona tortillas.
Yeah, the mind of Mike D'Angelo on display. The Shout podcast. Tell us when it's dropping here, Matt. What we could read at the Syracuse Post-Standard.
Yeah, Patriots First Look with my guy Andrew Callahan from the Boston Herald, one of the best beat reporters in the country for my money. One of my favorite early week podcasts of the season. That is up on all the podcast platforms. We're live if you're in town this weekend, we're live at Wingnuts, the airport location, for another Shout Live episode. And yeah, we'll be cranking all week long.
Matt, appreciate you coming on as you do every Tuesday at this time, sharing your knowledge, and we'll look forward to doing it again next week.
Sounds good, guys. Have a great week.
There he is, Matt Perino, covering the Buffalo Bills for the Syracuse Post-Standard. You can check out his work as well at Syracuse.com, the Shout podcast, wherever you get your shows. We've got to get to Survive and Advance football.
We do. Before we do that, though, breaking news in the sports bar.
Breaking news in the sports bar.
Ow! 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 It really hit me. I didn't know it was coming back that far.
So Detroit up 2-1 against Cleveland. The leadoff batter for the Guardians in the bottom of the ninth, Jose Ramirez, a triple. Third base. They can't get him in. 2-1 final. Detroit over Cleveland. And now the Tigers, after blowing a 15.5 game lead, find themselves now one win away from advancing to the divisional round.
Well, that's what's kind of crazy, right? Like, that's the kind of play that if you're a Guardians fan, you're like, yep, that was the Guardians team for about 85% of this season, so you can't really be surprised. But base running, like, come on, guys. You get, he's
all they had to do was get one of the first two guys, get it to the outfield, and they couldn't do that.
Sloppy.
Yeah.
All right, we got to get to Michael F. Florio as well. He's going to join us in the 4 o'clock hour. But yes, next, Gino makes his Survive and Advance Survivor football pick for Week 5. I have a feeling he and I might be taking different paths this week. So we'll discuss, we'll look over all the options, we'll debate, and we'll come up with the final pick for your Survivor football pool before we get to some fantasy football talk with Michael F. Florio from NFL Network joining us at 4:25. Your calls are always welcome as well at 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326.
WOCAM, WBEE HD2, and W239BF Rochester. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. The Fan, Rochester. Sports update.
Our first final from the baseball playoffs. Tigers hang on to beat the Guardians 2-1. Padres are up on the Cubs 1-0 as they are in the fourth. Tonight, Yankees-Red Sox Game 1 in the Bronx. Aaron Boone on this rivalry.
It's Red Sox-Yankees that get your attention, and I would throw it right in the best rivalries in all of sports, and obviously a lot of history there. So excited to be a part of it, and hopefully we get the better of them this go-around.
Max Fried, Garrett Crochet, your starters tonight. The Bills sign a punter, Mitch Wisnowski. He's a former 49er. Cam Johnson goes officially on injured reserve. Bills favored by 7.5 against the Patriots on Sunday night. Former Syracuse basketball great Lawrence Moten, the all-time leading scorer for the Oranges, died. Moten was 53. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
Welcome indeed. Hour 2 of the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. Thanks for joining us at AM 950 and 95.7 FM. Our YouTube channel, The Fan Rochester. Our channel on YouTube for you to like, subscribe. You'll always know when we go live when you click that little notification button as well. And, of course, you can hear us sounding our best in the free-to-download Odyssey, iHeartRadio, or TuneIn apps. I'm Danger. That's Battaglia.
Time out. Like, why are you saying we're going to diverge? You don't know what I'm going to do here.
I really don't.
You don't know.
I don't.
You don't.
But I'm trying to give you even more credibility. You're so confident going into this pick. You know it can't lose. Yet you have not shared with me, your co-host, your best buddy. You haven't shared with me which direction you're going. I've pretty much laid out my case. I know who I would be taking this week. But I am not the Survivor football guru that everybody leans on. Gene. That is you.
Look, we take in all sorts of advice. I've done a lot of reading. I have taken in advice. I've listened to your pick here, and now it is time. Last week we said, hey, there's no suspense. Like, it's Buffalo. We're not saving Buffalo. Do we want to save teams, Mike Danger?
Sabres are losers.
No, Sabres are losers. You're a hedger. By the definition, you're losing. You're all in. You have to be all in on Survive in advance. And it's a good time to review some of these rules here. Again, this is your roadmap to winning your Survivor pool. Don't take a road team. Don't take a divisional game. Now, the Vegas guide is kind of something we lean on here.
If you had to put weight on those first two rules, which one has a little bit more weight?
Divisional.
You avoid divisional.
The divisional probably is number one,
right.
But just statistically speaking, more teams win at home year in and year out.
Yep.
So let's kind of not take the road team if we don't have to. The favorite you must pick must be giving more than 5 points. The deeper we go into the season, the more tough that will get. We mentioned no savers. Hedgers are losers. Rule number 6, Danger. This is very, very important. Bad defenses are bad plays. I wouldn't say the Bills are a bad defense. They're okay. We just kind of view it like they're not championship level. But
we're not worried about the Bills. We already took them.
Yeah,
they're off the table.
Avoid the team that's playing at home for the second consecutive week. There is no shame in picking against the bad team week after week. And you don't go for the kill shot here. You don't override logic. Say, for example, you know what? My whole pool's going this way. I'm going to take Minnesota. No, that's how you end up. You're not winning any pool that's worth anything here in week number 5. So the teams we cannot choose here. We cannot choose Denver. Denver beat Tennessee. We cannot choose Baltimore. Baltimore, they beat the Browns in week 2. Tampa Bay gave us a sweat. Oh, did they give us a sweat? But the Jets jetted in the end. And the Bills over the Saints. So put it a different way, Danger, that's 4 different teams we picked against. The Titans, the Browns, the Jets, and the Saints.
Yeah.
So we haven't really identified the one team we're going to just kind of pick on week after week.
Well, I think, who do you got out there? You've got the Saints out there. You've got the Jets certainly look bad.
Titans getting shut out last week.
Yeah. Titans are bad.
Yeah, they're bad. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to go over some of these rules. We're going to cross them off one by one. There's only one divisional game we can choose this week. It's Thursday night. We'd never even go anywhere near this. 49ers and Rams. Some may be tempted, Danger, because
Thursday night games, I think, should also be a list. Like, avoid Thursday night games. Too unpredictable. Short week. Nobody's really prepared.
The one benefit is if you want to just have a relaxing Sunday. Okay.
You don't want to sweat on a Sunday.
I've done it. We've done it once or twice here that it just kind of pointed that direction, but I'm not taking Mac Jones against the Rams. No, I'm sorry. That's the way that's kind of looking here. Cross off the road favorites. And this is actually a neutral site game, but we're just going to cross it. I want no part of Vikings and Browns. The Browns have a good defense. That's some team we don't want to pick up against. Dallas, for some reason, is favored by 1.5 against the Jets.
Well, it's because it's the Jets.
That's the only reason.
No.
But no. Giants favored by 1.5 over the Saints.
Oh.
No. No. Now, if you're thinking, well, it's the one time I can take the Giants. No. We are only looking at this through week 5. Do I care about week 6, Danger?
No.
Much less 7, 8, 9, 10. No.
Just
no,
this
I do
week.
not.
Although the Saints are pretty. They were scrappy against the Bills, but I think just from a talent standpoint, not a lot of talent on that team.
Jacksonville is a home underdog to Kansas City. Monday Night Football. Chiefs favored by 3. Nope, don't want any part of that one.
Okay.
This one we're going to table, and if I know you, and I saw Peter and others tweeting at me, violate the rules this week. Detroit, this line started, Danger, -7. All this money has rushed in on the Bengals. 10.5, you saw it now?
Yeah, I mean, yesterday I want to say you said, I don't know what we're going to learn from Monday Night Football. And we might learn something. What we learned from Monday Night Football is that Cincinnati is a disaster.
They have a little quit in them.
They are a disaster right now.
So we're going to pull this game off and push it to the side. Detroit is under consideration this week at Cincinnati. You cross off the small favorites. Seattle favored by 1.5 against Tampa Bay. Nope. Dolphins, Panthers, no. Chargers, they can bounce back against the Commanders. No. Not doing that. This one, I'm also crossing off, Danger, because it was Eagles beginning of the week prior last night, favored by 5.5 against Denver. And funny thing happened. That's down to 3.5. Cross it off.
Right.
That Eagle offense, yeah, like we're talking about the defense in Buffalo.
Can we go back to the Chargers -3 at home against the Commanders? Because if Jaden Daniels isn't playing, I like that pick a little bit there. I think the Chargers aren't going to. I mean, I know the offensive line is worrisome, but I know the Chargers, they wouldn't lose 2 in a row to NFC East opponents, would they?
Do we really think? Do we really want to say Chargers in Week 5, Danger? No.
I'd also say Chargers and home game is kind of a misnomer. They're never really a home game for the Chargers.
True, too. Yeah. No, we have other choices here,
okay.
Danger. We have other choices. Now, we have the Colts favored by 6 over Vegas. 2 teams that, that loss for the Colts last, A.D. Mitchell, brutal. Not only the fumble when he's just trying to celebrate, but the holding call that takes back the go-ahead touchdown. A.D. Mitchell and the Colts, a redemption game. And then you have the Raiders. I'm sorry, the Raiders losing to the Bears?
The way they lost. That was a sloppy game.
Yeah, that's a tough one. So Colts favored by 6. We've got Arizona hosting Tennessee. All right. The Cardinals coming off a tough loss. The line here has shifted just a little bit. This started at 7, and money's coming in on Arizona after Tennessee got shut out. So that's under consideration as well. So are we taking the Cardinals minus the 8? Are we taking the Colts minus 6.5 now, technically? I'm just looking at this at BetQL. Or are we going to violate the rules and take the Lions 10.5 or 10.5 point favorites in Cincinnati?
Oof. Okay. So
right.
Here I'm weighing. The more I think about it, I think there's 2 options, 2 realistic options for you here. One doesn't violate any rules, and it allows you to pick on a really bad team, and that would be Arizona at home against Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't violate any of our rules, but how much faith do you have in Arizona? How much faith do you have that they're going to not fall on their face? Bad defenses, bad plays. I don't know. Arizona's defense doesn't
Their
strike
defense
me.
is okay.
It's
That's
just
not,
okay?
It's okay. That's not gonna harm you.
And then Detroit is the other one.
Okay, the first one I'm going to cross off here. I'm going to credit my friend Ben was saying this. Is I take the temperature letters. The Raiders have some spunk to them, where Geno Smith and that offense should do some things that should be an entertaining game. Do we want entertainment, or do we want to just kind of the sure thing? I would say like the Raiders. I'm crossing the Colts off.
Okay.
So the Colts, now it's down to, do we violate the rules, or do we actually take Arizona? And this is what you knew this is where we were going to go to, Andrew. Oh, this is a tough one. This is a tough one.
I'm waiting for you to sing.
I'm standing on a corner in Winslow, Arizona, and it's such a lovely sight to see. It's a win, my lord, and we're going to climb on in. So take a look at me. Come on, baby. Give me some poppers. Kyler Murray's driving the train. Take it easy. I make no sense at all. Arizona is your Week 5 winner. Tennessee is trash. Book it now. We violate no rules here. We'll talk to you next Tuesday.
Wow. I like that you mixed in some poppers. You had some jalapeno poppers in your pick. Your rendition.
Little Kyle Murray with his
Yep. And
little
maybe,
waiter there.
Maybe those chilies are fresh in Arizona. A little bit more fresh at the Applebee's there. Arizona.
You're not on board. I can look at the disappointment in your face.
Not at all. Not at all. Now, we've done this before. We don't always agree, which we shouldn't. We shouldn't always agree. That would be boring. Detroit's my pick. I can't see a world where that team, playing as good as they've played for the last 3 weeks, goes in and falls on their face in Cincinnati. And I think everybody in Cincinnati and the fans in Cincinnati, they all kind of see this for what it is. This is a team they've got no hope, no quarterback. They're talking about trading for a quarterback. Can you imagine if they get Russell Wilson or Jameis Winston instead of Jake Browning in Cincinnati? Does that really make things better for you? That's how bad it is right now.
No one's answered the question, what is wrong with Browning? I thought, okay, I'm willing to chalk that first one up in Minnesota. Last night was a little alarming. But when things are that bad, Danger,
Gino, they've
for
been
a team that
outscored.
has talent?
Outscored 76-13 the past two games. They were outgained last night by the Broncos, outgained by 353 yards. Now, that was in Denver, but I'm sorry, I can't give home field that much of an advantage. I think Detroit is just playing crisp right now.
Who has more talent on paper? Is it Cincinnati or Tennessee?
Cincinnati has more talent on paper, but I think Detroit has more talent than Arizona. I think
we're going to argue this one.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see what happens.
Yep.
I'm putting myself out there.
Okay.
And I want to guess against stress this. Do I know who Detroit is playing the rest of the year? No.
Doesn't matter.
No, I'm just sticking by the book. And the book says don't take a road team if you don't have to.
Yep.
We're taking an 8-point favorite with Arizona. 8-point favorite.
Yeah.
Buffalo's only 7.5.
Yeah. I don't trust Kyler Murray. I just don't trust Arizona. I can't trust a team that goes out there wearing their alternate uniforms looking like tortillas. The Arizona Tortillas against the Tennessee Titans.
Those end zones are spectacular.
In Arizona?
Yeah. You haven't seen those? It's the state flag.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yep. Those are nice. Yep.
Hopefully they keep them.
I didn't like the Nike rivalry uniforms for Arizona. looking like soft shells out there.
You know, I totally practiced that song, the way to sing it, and I just totally blew it. So hopefully that's not a bad thing.
If you were wondering, that was Gino's rendition of "Take It Easy" by the Eagles.
Steve writing in, Cardinals can't score. Colts are a better pick, in my opinion. Lions are the pick. I agree with Peter and Danger. Peter being the guy on Ryan.
Yep.
Chris trading. Oh, that's nice. A picture of William Hung. Hey, thanks, Chris. Danger, you hung out with William Hung, the former American Idol
I have a
contestant.
William Hung story. We got a little time. Let me tell my quick William Hung story. If you don't remember who William Hung was, he was contestant on American Idol when American Idol was all the thing. Like the last show that America sat down and watched together as a family, right? You don't watch sitcoms anymore. Everything is on demand. But American Idol Live was something you had to see.
Mm-hmm.
And William Hung was one of the first guys to show up to American Idol and become a meme. Just, like you see him and you're like, this guy has no business being here. He was so bad, but he was beloved. Everybody loved him. And he was doing his version of Ricky Martin's She Bangs, and he sung it horribly, but they mocked him and made fun of him and had, some laughs, and he became kind of like this overnight viral sensation. Well, things were lean that year, if I remember correctly, as I was trying to book artists for 98 PXY Summer Jam. Budget was tight.
Wait, he's not your headliner.
Budget was tight.
Oh, my God.
We needed to get some names. I think we had a couple of good bands that year, but I think William Hung was like, we just bring him in just for the novelty of it, just to, for all of us to laugh and have a good time.
Did he actually sing, or did he just wave?
No, he went on stage. We made a big deal out of it. He went on stage. I think Webster Thomas, one of the Webster schools, had their cheerleaders on stage dancing with him, like for the song. Like, we made a big production out of it. But my William Hung story was him calling me and him identifying himself. Mike, it's William, but I could clearly tell it was William because he had a very thick accent. I'm like, yes, William, I understand. It's you. Yes. And I want to say it was either he or his mom, when they were getting out of the van that was transporting them to the backstage, slammed their hand in the van, which smarts. I don't know that it was, I can't remember if it was William or his mom who was traveling with him. But yeah, William Hung did call me that day. And that's, I don't have Taylor Swift's cell phone number, but William Hung has called me directly.
He did his song and left town.
Did a couple of songs on stage, and everybody loved him. And how do you not? I mean, he was just a lovable figure that everybody kind of pointed and laughed at, and an early viral sensation from back in the American Idol. So it wasn't, your rendition wasn't that bad, Gino. You threw me a little bit. We got to work on the melody a little bit, I think. But
I got to work on a lot of things. Yeah.
Arizona's Gino's pick. I'm going with Detroit. We're going to see who's less sweaty come Monday. This is fun. Love doing it. Fantasy football as well. And you know what? I could blame a lot of things on my poor start this fantasy football season. But if I'm going to blame it on anything, I haven't been here on Tuesdays. I haven't been able to get into the mind of Michael F. Florio to really get the expert advice that we dish out here in the sports bar.
Well, moving forward, next Tuesday, Odyssey app on demand. Listen back every Tuesday at 4:30.
Michael F. Florio. We'll talk some fantasy football next from NFL Network. Stopping by the sports bar.
You're listening to the Sports The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
Baseball playoffs, the Cubs have just tied the Padres. Seiya Suzuki with a solo shot in the bottom of the fifth won the score. The Tigers hang on to beat the Guardians 2-1. Tonight in the Bronx, Yankees and Red Sox game 1. Garrett Crochet on the mound for the Red Sox.
It's exciting. Hard to know what my emotions will be like until it happens. But, right now, like I said, I'm just trying to treat it like it's another start. I've pitched here twice already this year and faced this lineup 4 times. I don't want to say it's comfortable because it's a tough opposing lineup, but there's a sense of comfort there and just knowing the faces that I'm going to be going up against.
Yankees sending Max Fried to the mound. The Bills make a move at punter today. Mitch Wisnowski is a former San Francisco 49er. Cam Johnson officially going on injured reserve. We'll talk to Michael F. Florio. Some fantasy and Bills coming up next. Former Syracuse basketball great Lawrence Moten dies at the age of 53. Gene Battaglia, The Fan Rochester.
Top Shelf Sports Talk. You're hanging out in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Getting ready for week 5 in the NFL, and we've got some teams on a bye, which means you want to dive headfirst into that waiver wire. Find some gaps that you can fill with some players that are out there. We welcome in Michael F. Florio, Fantasy Football at NFL Network. We'll learn more about his podcast with Stevie Johnson as well. Talk some Bills with Florio as well. One of our favorites every Tuesday at this time. Mike, it's good to have you back on. Tell me about Woody Marks when we start looking at this week 5 waiver wire.
Yeah, Woody Marks is the pickup of the week if he is out there. And just like I was saying with Trey Benson last week, I think if you need a running back, he's worth 50-60% of your fab. Last week, I was saying that it was a good time to stash Woody Marks if he was still out there because in week 3, we saw him split snaps down the middle, split routes down the middle. The carry edge went to Nick Chubb. But then last week, that was the complete opposite, right? Woody Marks, it looks like he has fully taken over. He had more carries, more snaps. And what he really does well is he's a big weapon, a receiver out of the backfield. So even when the Texans are trailing, he isn't game script dependent like Nick Chubb was. And it's a good matchup this week against the Ravens, who have really struggled against the run. They struggle against pass-catching backs, and they're really banged up. So Woody Marks, not just someone I think you could pick up, and I think you should be very aggressive if he's out there. I also think he is someone you could get into your starting lineup right away this week.
Yeah, as we've got bye weeks. Already, here we go. Just 4 teams, though. Atlanta, Chicago, Green Bay, and Pittsburgh. So you might be looking at some different options this week. And let's start with the Giants, where, Michael, I think this is kind of like a mixed bag, right? We like what we saw in Jackson Dart. We like this opponent, the Saints coming up. And now, unfortunately, lost Malik Neighbors. So how do you view just the Giants' offense overall when you lose your top playmaker, but you're playing in a favorable matchup this week?
Yeah, I look, obviously what happened to Malik Neighbors was awful. He was my pick for Offensive Player of the Year this year. I was very, very bullish on Malik Neighbors, but without him, Darius Slayton and Wan'Dale Robinson are going to be the next targets up for the Giants. We already know what Wan'Dale is. Slot guy, sometimes gets used downfield. He is more rostered than Slayton because he's already had a big game a couple weeks ago. But we did see last year when Neighbors was out that Slayton got a lot of usage, especially downfield. And that is something we didn't see from Jackson Dart this week because he didn't have to, right? The Giants had a lead throughout that game. I do not expect that to be the case most weeks, maybe this week against the Saints. But Dart last season in college led the FBS in yards and touchdowns on deep passes. And I think he is the number 1 quarterback ad this week, and I think he has more upside than anyone else that's out there on waivers at the quarterback position, is what we've seen him do with his legs, right? Last week, not only did he run for around 50 yards and a rushing touchdown, he had a 40-yard run called back due to penalty. They clearly have packages designed for him to run in the red zone. He carried it 3 different times in the red zone, including the one that he scored a touchdown on. So, one easy opponent this week, I think he is the top streaming option. But even in games where they have harder opponents, we expect the Giants to be trailing, which means more having to throw and more airing it out. even without Neighbors, I think Dart brings a ton of upside because he can run, and running quarterbacks are just cheat codes in fantasy.
Michael F. Florio, NFL Network, our guest in the Sports Bar, Danger and Battaglia, talking Week 5 fantasy football. And if you can for a moment here, Mike, talk any A.J. Brown owner off the ledge. What do you do with Brown? I mean, is it time to bench Brown? Was it time to bench Brown a couple of weeks ago?
I don't think so. In fact, I'm going against the grain a little bit. I'm saying to start A.J. Brown this week for two reasons. One, I know it's a very tough matchup against the Broncos, but the fantasy results weren't what we wanted this past week. He had 9 targets, a near 40% target share, and 73% of the air yards went his way. Like, were the deep throws non-competitive? Does Jalen Hurts have to be better? Yes. Can A.J. Brown do a better job of creating separation? Yes. But there's so much talent there between these two on this team in general that – and I know people are saying, like, the Eagles are 4-0. We don't care how they got there. They got lucky with the Rams. They've been in a lot of close games. I think they know that they need to start having better results in the passing game in order to sustain success. I keep saying what this Eagles team reminds me of right now is what the Chiefs were last year, where we kept being like, this isn't going to work, and eventually it gets to a point where it doesn't. The Eagles are that team, so I still believe in the talent that is A.J. Brown. I don't think he's going to live up to his draft day cost, but I'm looking to try to buy low in a couple of spots. I know people are saying this is going to be how it is all year. It's going to be a big headache, a lot of down games. Sure, that's the perception, and that might be the reality. If you paid a first or second round pick for him, you hate that. But if you can acquire him for low right now, there's no risk in it because the upside is so high with A.J. Brown. That's why he was a first or a second round pick. Plus, I'm a big believer in squeaky wheel games, and A.J. Brown took to Twitter this week and was saying, like, just shrug your shoulders and leave. They know he is unhappy. One theory I've been working on is he's been unhappy since week 1. Like, he was just waiting because it was working and they were winning. Even this week they won and he crashed out. The Eagles know they need to get him happy or else he's not going to want to be there anymore. So I think a squeaky wheel game could be on tap. And I just think I'm going to trust the talent that is A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts on this Eagles team. So for me, it's something I've been doing more in recent years is just being like, this player's struggling, but we know he's an otherworldly talent. I'm going to try to buy low, and A.J. Brown fits into that category.
He's a member of Bill's Mafia, and also you see his work on the NFL Network. Michael F. Florio is our guest. Also coming out of that Eagles-Buccaneers game, this is kind of a bummer. Bucky Irving doesn't look too good about his availability on Sunday. So as we prep, and Michael, I took your advice long ago, picking up Rachaad White just in the draft. Just okay, if you like Irving, take White. My question is, like, what's behind White? Whether I would imagine Sean Tucker is available in a lot of leagues. If you pick up Tucker, is that worthy of, say, a flex play? Your thoughts here on the Buccaneers backfield?
Yeah, if Bucky is out this week, I do think Rachaad White becomes someone that you get into a lot of lineups. I think Sean Tucker is a little bit more option dependent. Like, he is in that flex range, but he's not someone that I'm just kicking out whoever is in my flex already to get in. It would depend on who that is, how you're dealing with injuries and buys, but there are certainly teams out there that need running back or flex help this week because of injuries and buys and everything that are piling up. And we saw last season when giving an opportunity, it was few and far between, but Sean Tucker's an explosive runner who brings upside. So I can't sit here and tell you, like, yeah, I guarantee you he's going to get you 15 fantasy points or something like that. But he's got the upside, and he's on a team that if Bucky's out, I think will give him an opportunity. I would expect Rachaad White to be the lead back, but even when Bucky's out there, Rachaad White gets a good amount of touches. So I think that secondary role would go to Tucker, a little bit more boom or bust, but he's, again, a very explosive runner. We've already seen some really big fantasy days out of him in the past. It would just depend on who your current options are. Like, if you have Woody Marks, I'm playing Woody Marks over him. If you have Cam Scatterbo, I'm playing him over him. But maybe you have like a Chase Brown and you're sick of playing that game, or something like that. So that is a situation that I can be convinced to go with Tucker.
Well, while it's fresh in our mind from last night, I mean, if you're a Bengals owner, if you're a Chase Brown or a Jamar Chase owner, T. Higgins, I mean, this offense is sputtering. This team looks like it's in a tailspin. What's your advice for someone who might have some assets there in the Bengals offense?
I think it's time where we need to strip the name away outside of maybe Jamar Chase. I know yesterday was rough for Chase. It was against Patrick Surtain and maybe the best secondary in football. So I still think with Chase, because he's the type of player that could take a 5-yard pass and make it a 75-yard touchdown, whereas like a T. Higgins isn't that guy. So I'm done starting T. Higgins until further notice. And I'm getting to that point with Chase Brown as well. I have Chase Brown on a couple of teams. And, like, for one, I was stashing Woody Marks on the bench. That was an easy swap for me today. But then I have another league where, like, I have DeAndre Swift on by. And so I might not be able to get away from Chase Brown there. The one thing that Chase Brown has going for him is Browning will dump the ball off. So if you're in a PPR league, that's something. But they get the Lions this week. They're probably going to be behind like 30 points at some point in this game. I think the only hope is a deep ball to Jamar Chase. Besides that, I'm trying my hardest to get away from the Bengals and stream your defenses against them. If you're Cincinnati, though, and the Bengals, hopefully you're listening, go out and call about Jameis Winston or Russell Wilson or something, because you have far too much talent on offense. And you built the whole ship around the offense. There's no money invested in that defense, so it's not like they could bail you out. You cannot have uncompetitive games like the last 3 we have seen. So they need to do something to address that quarterback position. That is the hope if you have a Higgins, a Chase Brown. But for right now, I think it's fine to get away from all except for maybe Chase.
Michael, you're also the co-host of the Sick podcast with Stevie Johnson. And let's start off with a Bills fantasy question. I mean, okay, it was only one catch, but it did go for a touchdown. Where do you have Dalton Kincaid ranked? I mean, 3 touchdowns in 4 games for Buffalo. That's a ratio that I don't know many other tight ends in this league can match here. So your thoughts, have we finally turned the corner with Dalton Kincaid?
Yeah, I have start and sit him coming out at NFL.com tomorrow, and I will give a spoiler. Dalton Kincaid is a start. And, yeah, I know only 2 targets this week, but like you said, he caught a touchdown. Now that's a career high already, which is wild to say. But I think with the way the Bills have been playing, and it's obviously spreading the ball out is good for the Bills, not good for fantasy. But they haven't been airing it out at a high rate the last few weeks. And it's been a lot more catch and run type stuff. That suits Dalton Kincaid's skill set. So, and on top of it all, the bar for success at tight end is a touchdown or somewhere around 10 fantasy points, So I'd rather play Dalton Kincaid than one of the Bills receivers right now, even though I think the Bills receivers might score a little bit more. A 10 or 12-point day at receiver is a lot different than a 10 or 12-point day at tight end. So because of that, I'm more inclined to play Dalton Kincaid of any of the Bills pass catchers. And there's 7 good tight ends out there. So everyone in some sort of leagues are in need of tight end help, and Kincaid can certainly offer that.
Mike, we don't bring you on to ask you whether or not you should start Drake May against the Bills defense, but we have seen through 4 games that you can run the football against the Bills defense, and the Patriots have 2 of them in Stevenson and in the rookie Travion Henderson. Do you like either of them? Are they in your lineups going into Buffalo?
I have all 3 names that you mentioned as starts this week against the Bills. Drake May, I love Drake May. I think I've been saying it for a year now. He reminds me a lot of early career Josh Allen. Like, you see the flashes in him that he has greatness in him, and he's got that playmaking ability. Maybe not quite to the level of Allen, but he reminds me a lot of him, and he can use his legs. The Bills have allowed the most rushing yards to quarterbacks. They've allowed a ton of yards on the ground to running backs, and they're allowing explosive runs on nearly 20% of their carries, which explosive runs on NFL is 10 or more yards. So 1 out of every 5 carries on average or close to it is going for 10-plus yards. So I do have Stevenson and Travion Henderson as starts this week. Obviously, Anyone who listens to me knows I'm a huge Travion fan and have been pushing for him to get more and more work. We saw last week him play over Antonio Gibson. I think that is a good sign. He scored a touchdown, and he is their most explosive runner. If that is a weakness that the Bills have, I think the Patriots should look to exploit it by using Travion. But the one consistent has been Stevenson has been their top back in snaps and carries. He gets some usage in the passing game, used a lot near the goal line. So he is the safer option, but I do think Travion is the home run hitting option in this one. And I think with 4 teams on bye, I think all of those guys are in play because, look, the Bills do a lot of things well on defense, but stopping the run has not been one of them.
This team is on bye. It's a little unfair that, asking you your thoughts on a team on bye when we're setting our fantasy lineup. But your thoughts here on the Atlanta Falcons, because that's on the horizon for Buffalo and danger. I think this could be a dangerous spot here for Buffalo, knowing, okay, it's a Monday night and, Atlanta will probably be a home underdog. But I don't know what to make of this team, Michael. Are we putting stock into what we believe in the beginning of the season where we drafted this team? Or, 2 weeks ago, losing the way they did to Carolina, a little alarming. So at the quarter point of the season, what are your thoughts here on an opponent coming up in 2 weeks here for Buffalo, the Atlanta Falcons?
I was talking with a friend yesterday, and he was saying he agrees with what Stevie Johnson said on the SIG podcast, that the Bills' first loss might not come until the Eagles in Week 17. And I said a sneaky matchup is the Atlanta Falcons because what we just said about the Bills, they cannot stop the run. Bijan Robinson is the best running back in football. If he's not the best, he's top 3 at worst. And Tyler Algier is a very good complementary piece, a powerful runner. These two might be outside of the Lions guys. I think they're up there for best 1-2 punch in the NFL at the running back position. So they have the capability of controlling the clock. And Bijan, not only as a runner, is always a threat to go the distance. He already has 2 100-yard receiving games this year. So he can get you as a receiver out of the backfield as well. That should be giving the Bills, not this week, they have a game before that to worry about, but next week, that should be giving the Bills pretty big headaches, I think. And they also have talent like in Drake London and Kyle Pitts and Darnell Mooney. So this team is a team that I don't think should be taken lightly. The big caveat being Michael Penix Jr., you could make life really difficult on him. We saw the Panthers do so a couple weeks ago and just shut this team out. So there's a wide range of outcomes for what the Falcons offense could look like in this game, but obviously we know the rushing attack is going to be their focal point. It should be the Bills' defense focal point. I'm still going to take the team that has Josh Allen, but I do think that the Falcons are a sneaky tough matchup just because their strength on offense is the Bills' weakness on defense.
Michael, most of our memories of Tyreek Hill are more like nightmares if you're a Bills fan, but to see him and that injury, all I can wonder is that it for Tyreek Hill, who is, from a fantasy perspective, one of the best ever?
Yeah, and nightmare is the exact right word to describe it. I always say that 13 seconds happened because of Tyreek Hill, because they were so fearful that he could just get by them that they were like, yeah, we're going to leave Kelsey underneath. And that's why I think Tyreek Hill, I'm not saying he's the best receiver of his generation, but I don't think another receiver steps on the field and impacts the game more than Tyreek because of what he brings with his speed and all the many different ways that he can beat you and strike fear into you. Is this the last we see him? That seems, I would say this is the last we see him as a big-time fantasy asset. Tom Pelissero reported today that not only is he done for the year, next year is very much up in the air for him as well because it is such a major surgery. He's on the wrong side of 30, and even more than that, the thing that Tyreek Hill is known for, his calling card, is his speed. So I wouldn't be surprised if he went on like an end-of-career run, kind of like what Odell Beckham Jr. did, where he's a veteran presence. He means more to the real-life team than for fantasy, but I think his days of being an impact player, a star wide receiver, a must-start fantasy option, I think those are on life support right now, unfortunately, because of how severe the injury is and the age and the style of play and all of that.
Cubs are up on the Padres 2-1, by the way, bottom of 6. It's the party we weren't invited to, Michael. But you asked me last week. I told you weren't going to Chavez Ravine tonight here, buddy.
I was all ready to. Gene, I hate how right you were because you said it was going to come down to Sunday. The Reds were going to lose, and the Mets would lose to the Marlins, and you hit the nail on the head. And I had so many screens going on Sunday because all the football games, the baseball games were all at the same time, and I'm heartbroken. I'm disappointed. But for you Met fans out there, and Gene, I know you're one, I try to put a positive spin on this, right? If you're Steve Cohen, you're not 5 years in. You wanted a World Series by this point. Your team just got embarrassed after you invested in Juan Soto. What do? You throw money at the problem. So I think this is going to be a huge offseason for the Mets. I expect them to be really active. And the last thing I can honestly say, the only thing I'm rooting for this playoffs now, go Red Sox. Whoever's playing the Yankees, you know?
Ooh. Yeah. I'm hearing that from a lot of Mets fans, actually. Just Mets fans just absolutely hating on the Yankees.
Oh, well it's like Yankee fans. Like, I never had a problem, but then you have Michael Kay. Like nobody's coming at you. Like, I don't understand why. Michael, Soto changed everything. I think that pissed Yankee fans off, and there's no return after this. We're going to be dealing with this for the next decade. All this animosity from Yankee fans.
Yeah, because think about it. Their entire like most of my friends are Yankee fans, and they're born in the 90s. Their entire life, they've never experienced a losing season. Any player they've ever wanted, they have gotten. They thought for sure, like, I kept telling my Yankee fan friends all last year and in the summer, like, the Mets are signing Juan Soto. And they didn't believe it. They were laughing at it. There's no way he's going to choose that team over us. The history, pinstripes, all. None of that matters. You know what matters? How many zeros are at the end of the line? And you know who is the richest owner in the sport? The Mets. So I think not only did Soto change everything, I think we'll see it again this offseason when it's Kyle Tucker or whoever other big-name free agent is out there. The Yankees aren't the bullies anymore, not even in their own city. Steve Cohen is the new bully now, and they do not like it. They could cherish this year, but I'm sorry to you Yankee fans listening. The Mets have more money. They have the better farm system. They have the younger core. I still think the future is very, very bright in Queens. But this year, I get it. We got to take our licks. I get it.
You're so young, so naive, Michael.
No.
Okay. I mean, you have Juan Soto until, the year 2057, so I guess that's good. You do have the rich owner, so I guess you can throw money at the problem. There are reasons to feel optimistic, but Gino and I have been through. I feel like we go through this every year with the Mets fans. This renew. We'll deal with it here come springtime again. I'm sure we'll be talking about how great the Mets look in May and June, and then much like the mosquitoes, they kind of go away towards the end of the summer.
Hey, the Yankees their whole entire future is tied to the ligaments of a 34-year-old giant. What could go wrong?
Michael, tell everybody about the Sick podcast and everything they can consume here in terms of your fantasy coverage.
Yeah, unfortunately, I won't be watching much baseball this week. So, Sick podcast with me and Stevie Johnson. If you live in the LA area, I know a lot of you are in Rochester, but if you're going to be in LA, me and Stevie are actually going to get together in Orange County this Sunday night for the game. And then NFL Network, NFL.com, start and sit them out tomorrow. Insiders, Fantasy Live, all the usual places. And hopefully next week when we're talking, we're talking the 5-0 Bills going on to Monday Night Football.
Fantastic work as always, Michael. Appreciate the time. We'll do it again next week.
Sounds good, and go Bills.
You got it. Michael F. Florio, NFL Network, Bills Mafia, and the Sick podcast with Stevie Johnson.
I would not recommend comparing. This is where, as a Met fan, we just have to stay down. You do not fight against Yankee fans.
He's being very optimistic about the future.
Yeah, that's true. But
he's playing Mr. Brightside in his head, much like the Bills do in fourth quarter situations. Michael, please. Let's save some of this optimism for the season of optimism here when spring training hits again, because we can have this conversation again and again and again. But man, I mean, having Soto and hoping that that's the answer long term could give you a reason to feel hope. And yeah, having an owner with the deepest pockets in Major League Baseball, sure. But for now, much like LaGreca was saying in New York, you got to look in the mirror, man. This is terrible. It was a mass. You can't be upset. You can't blame anybody. You're the Mets. That's what happens.
No, every trade deadline acquisition you made terrible between Mullins and those arsonists you brought in for your bullpen. And, oh, yeah, the starting pitching, which you ignored from the get-go.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's the party that this one stings. It stings.
Yeah.
I did not cancel on Catalana yesterday, though.
No.
So you have to give me credit.
No,
on that.
you've been a man of your word. You've been a man of character. You've taken the punches. You've taken them. The ones that aren't taking them. And Florio's not really taking them. He's just choosing an alternate path. I want to be optimistic. I'm not going to watch any baseball. Although saying I'm going to root against the Yankees, that's misfitting. That's a little misfitting.
I mean, if I'm going to root for somebody, I root for people. Like Ernie Clement came into the sports bar, Rochester's own. All right.
Root for the Jays.
Root for Ernie. I'm not a Jays fan, but if they win, I'm happy for Ernie.
That's right. Yeah, that feels about right. Happy Hour is next.
But if the Yankees win the World Series, it's going to be unbearable. It is going to be unbearable.
The Mets fans are just going to go into hibernation. We're not going to hear anything from anybody. Oh, yeah. Happy Hour next. Plenty of time for your calls at 866-4FAN, 866-4326 if you want to pull up a stool and join us. The Bills have a new member of their roster. We'll tell you. We'll get into some hot punter talk during Happy Hour and take your calls as well. Stand by.
Odyssey AM, WBEE HD2 Rochester, and streaming online and in the Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester, an Odyssey sports station. The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
Bills make a move at punter today. The new punter in Buffalo is Mitch Wisnowski. He's a former 49er. Cam Johnson going on injured reserve. Baseball playoffs today. The Padres now trailing the Cubs 2-1. Kelly and Suzuki with homers for the Cubs to put them ahead as they're in the bottom of the seventh. Tigers hang on to beat the Guardians today. 2-1 the final there. Tonight, Yankees-Red Sox game 1 in the Bronx. Aaron Boone on this rivalry.
It's Red Sox-Yankees that get your attention, and I would throw it right in the best rivalries in all of sports, and obviously a lot of history there. So excited to be a part of it, and hopefully we get the better of them this go-around.
Yankees sent Max Fried to the mound. Garrett Crochet starting for the Sox. Former Syracuse basketball great Lawrence Moten has died. Moten was 53. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, The Fan Rochester.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
Welcome to the Sports Bar. Indeed, it's happy hour, and that is our theme music from our listener Sean in Long Island. And I just wanted to share, Sean in Long Island was at the Bills game on Sunday. He brought his daughter, he brought his wife. They had 3 seats. They had great seats to the game. And first time he was able to kind of take his kid and experience Orchard Park, experience Highmark Stadium on a game day. The Bills get the win. And, man, a rush of emotions for this guy who's been coming to Highmark for years. I mean, I remember going to a game with him once and seeing him at a game where he got punched in the face by a friend, friendly fire. It wasn't anything serious, like as someone would do. And, and now to know that the new stadium is opening up next year with more memories on deck, a bittersweet day for our friend Sean from Long Island who watched the Bills defeat the Saints on Sunday afternoon.
I didn't expect, when we got to October, that we're going to have another forecast like we had the week before and the week before. 78 and sun.
That's because September is
really, it's really August.
It's summer.
Yeah, this is the new, which sign me up. If this was like this all the time, we're not complaining ever. My question is, how lubed up is that crowd going to be? What is that going to be like when Diggs takes the field?
Yeah.
I'm ready. I'm ready for Bills Patriots, and what feels different this week as opposed to the Saints, certainly, and even the Dolphins and the Jets. I get the sense that people are taking this opponent a little more seriously, that you see just enough from Drake May. You have to respect Mike Vrabel. He's beaten the Bills. Sometimes it hasn't gone his way, but he'll know what to do. Well, he'll have a plan, you would think, against Josh Allen and that Bills offense. And, Diggs is on the other side. So I think everybody's paying attention to this one. And, oh, by the way, you went from being a 15.5, even a 16.5 at one point favorite against the Saints. Now it's only 7.5 against the Patriots.
Yeah, there's a part of me that feels a little bit of nerves going into this game and thinking that the Patriots could come up with an upset. And then there's the other part of me that stands true to what I said at the beginning of this season. I don't think the Bills are losing a game at home. It's the last season at Highmark. To bring it back to what I was just saying about our regular Sean in Long Island, no, they're going to handle their business. It might not be comfortable. It might not be pretty, but let's face it, the last couple of games haven't been comfortable or necessarily pretty. You can count on 30 points. I think you'll get that from the Bills offense. And you're going to have to figure out how to stop Drake May. I mean, can you stop Drake May? Drake May, is he the best quarterback you face since Lamar Jackson? Yeah.
Yes.
8 Ball says yes. Mm-hmm. So that would be the challenge. And by the way, the new threads will be unveiled, the Nike rivalry uniforms for the first time on Sunday night. And I believe that they're also handing out white towels. Not a white out. I don't think they can call it a white out. I don't know that they're technically allowed to call it a white out.
They are asking everybody to dress in white, however, which You're not wearing a T-shirt only to this. It's a little more difficult, I would say. Like, how many people actually own a white sweatshirt? Or maybe you own a Bills road jersey, perhaps?
This is go get the gear. Get the gear that's out there right now. Get the Nike rivalry gear that's all white with the Bills logo in silver. Go get that gear. That's the gear you want to be wearing for not a white out, but for, if we were asking you to wear white, we have plenty of white options for you to wear on Sunday night. The Bills have themselves a new punter.
Mitch Wisnowski, not to be confused with Mitch Trubisky or any other Mitch for that matter. Cam Johnson going on injured reserve, which I will give Cam Johnson. If that was his last game as a Buffalo Bill, and who knows, maybe they move on after he's healthy, he will go down in my book. Okay, you played out there legitimately injured. There's a difference between playing hurt and playing injured. Your knee is wrecked up, but you still went out there to hold. Which
the knee brace on while he was holding it couldn't have been comfortable. It had to have been painful. He hits IR, and Wisnowski, who was released by the 49ers after 6 seasons back in May, now joins the team. He was with the Commanders earlier this season, but he did not appear in a game for Washington. So it'll be Wisnowski punting. Mitch Wisnowski, the new punter for the Buffalo Bills. And it's not really a story, but now that we are 4 games into it, the window to return to practice is open for everybody that was on IR to start the season.
That's just tomorrow. Do they elect to do this? Now, we saw Maxwell Harrison. I'm not doing that with Maxwell Harrison. He's still wearing a knee brace. Oh gosh, yeah, he is weeks away. Put a pin on that. Tyler Bass, your guess is as good as mine. You also have Tylen Grable. I think the bigger story is, Spencer Brown is really good, and I think the Bills actually missed him a little bit last week. Can you get Spencer Brown back? Do you get Ed Oliver practicing? What about Matt Milano? I agree with you, Danger, that part of this feels load management-ish, but this is a divisional opponent. And if you fire around in this game, you're going to only be up 1 game in the division. The Patriots actually hold the tiebreaker for the moment.
I'd say this. If the Patriots beat the Bills on Sunday night, the Patriots are a playoff team. I think that this game matters to the Patriots that much, that if they were to beat the Bills in Week 5, that's a game we'll circle and be like, yep, that's the game that got them into the playoffs.
How many times did we start out in the drought era? This is a measuring stick game. I mean, we don't talk about that anymore. We are the stick, and other teams are going to measure themselves against Buffalo. So.
You're going to get everybody's best shot. I hear, at least that's what they say. You're going to get everybody's best shot when you're the best team out there. And right now, that team is the Bills. But it is, when you look around the rest of the AFC, boy, doesn't it feel like it is breaking the Bills' way pretty much in every way, shape, or form, with the exception of Kansas City looking more like the Chiefs against Baltimore on Sunday. But news of Lamar Jackson missing some time. Cincinnati absolutely falling apart all of a sudden. Now that game doesn't look as formidable on the schedule as it did when the schedule was first released. That defense is awful.
And now Baltimore, who can't, you think the Bills can't stop the run? Let me introduce you to the Ravens, who now are without their defensive tackle. They have linebacker issues, and now they're going to be without Lamar. Cooper Rush is in Baltimore. I didn't know that before today, so he'll be starting against the Texans this week.
Yeah, it's gross.
Yeah.
The Dolphins get their first win last night on Monday Night Football, but it came at a cost. Tyreek Hill tearing his ACL, dislocating his kneecap. Other ligaments in his knee damage as well. This is a severe knee injury that could keep him out for as much as not just this season, but also next season as well, which leads you to wonder what Tyreek Hill is when he is fully recovered from this surgery that he had today.
I'm wondering, because Tyreek Hill, week 2, you looked how bad the Dolphins were. Like, okay, will Tyreek Hill be actually here? Remember, he was saying he wasn't going to come back. So could the Dolphins have gotten a good draft pick? Probably, but we'll never know. But we did have the report from one of the insiders that the Chiefs were interested, the Steelers were interested. Now, does this actually speed up the market in a little bit? The trade deadline isn't until November the 4th, okay? But we did have a trade October 15th. It was the Jets actually starting things off, trying to save their season, trading for Devontae Adams. The Raiders realized they were out of it. So could we actually see earlier moves here this year. Maybe this kind of sparks everything. If I'm Brandon Beane, I'm making another round of calls here.
It was that trade yesterday for the lineman from Houston that Cleveland made. That's the catalyst. That's the thing that's going to get everybody going. A little 6th, 7th round pick swap and an offensive lineman to the Browns. That's the one that's going to get it all going for the NFL trade deadline, which is, what did we say, November
4th. So it's a Tuesday after the Chiefs game.
Okay.
The takeaway from the Matt Perino conversation, Danger, I think the Bills have a little bit of a Taylor Rapp problem. There's just no hiding that. Like, when you see that play by Cole Bishop, that's why they drafted him. It is a spectacular play. He's at the opposite hash. He's like, wait a second. And they give him the license to make a play like that, make plays. And that's the whole benchmark of this Sean McDermott defense. You need 2 good safeties, which, you could say even the last year at Port Huron High, they were on the downside. Well, you're happy. Hope you have one. Do they have another? To hear Matt Perino bring up the name Jordan Poyer, I don't know. Is that what we're down to?
Yeah, that was an audible wince when he mentioned Jordan Poyer. I don't think that's happening, and maybe I'll go down as a Taylor Rapp apologist as long as he's a member of this team, because I know that he's not playing as well as we expect, right? And I know that Cole Bishop also, save for that one spectacular play last week, hasn't been all that great through 4 games either. The safeties, you want more out of them. You expect more out of them, and we haven't really seen it through 4 games, although Bishop does have that nice play. I just still think that if you're talking about bringing in Jordan Poyer from the practice squad, that's a mistake. That's a step backwards, in my opinion.
I agree. Can there be another like, you have to acknowledge, though, if we have people, and like Perino's not the only one to say, okay, this has been bad through 4 weeks. And if he's healthy, is this it for Taylor Rapp? I think the safety position, Danger, it's also like a goalie. It's like your mistakes are magnified. Maybe not as bad as corner, but when you're missing tackles and you're just looking at things, hard to kind of evaluate line play.
Yeah.
Much easier when you're a safety.
Well, missing tackles feels like a universal problem with the Bills' defense, not necessarily exclusive to the safeties. Trey White's been pretty good, but he's missed some tackles. I mean, they've all Deion Walker, for as good as we've talked about Deion Walker has missed some tackles in the backfield. There's some plays left on the field, so they're all kind of guilty of that element, that fundamental element of their game, and missing some tackles. And you hope that they can clean that up here through the week of practice in time for a formidable matchup here with the Patriots. And a quarterback who's mobile. We saw what Spencer Rattler did against them on Sunday, and imagine that Drake May could probably have equal or greater success with Josh McDaniels dialing up some stuff for him.
Yeah, that's it's. You get this one. I'm not upset if they lose at Atlanta. They're not going 17-0. Contrary to John in Rochester and maybe some other Bills fans, this isn't going to be the first undefeated season since the Miami Dolphins. They will stub their toe, and that's a team that if Bijan Robinson gets over you, and granted, Atlanta, I didn't realize that. They're on the bye this week. Great. They get to prepare for Buffalo. They get to sit back and, okay, what's going to be our plan against Josh Allen? And
Robinson is the one that makes me nervous. I think Robinson has a day when we talk about that Monday night matchup against the Falcons here coming up a week from Monday. That could be rough. But before we get to that, we get the Patriots. And we got to check in with our guy from WEEI, right?
Yeah, Fitzy's joining us around this time tomorrow. So Nick Stevens, who goes by Fitzy, and he is, for being a Boston guy, he's hilarious.
Yeah, he's great.
He's actually doing afternoons. So it's a little more difficult to book him on our show. However, WEEI will be in the Red Sox coverage this time tomorrow. So his show gets preempted. He's going to jump on the phone with us tomorrow. And that's the thing. If you live in Boston, oh, yeah, the Patriots, they don't care. Until the Red Sox are eliminated, or even maybe after that point, it's totally a Sox town, Patriots second, even with all those championships they have in Foxborough.
No question about it. And you want to talk about the MLB postseason altering some schedules and routines. Did you see this? The Seahawks could actually be affected by the Mariners being in the postseason. Their game this weekend against the Bucs, which was supposed to kick off Sunday at 4:05, along with a Week 7 game potentially against the Texans here, which was a Monday night game, part of a doubleheader that was going to start at 10 o'clock Eastern time. Both could be moved. Sunday's game could be delayed anywhere from an hour to 2.5 hours, which would give you a kickoff at 5:35 Eastern or later.
And then if it's a Monday night game later, I mean, you're talking like 11 o'clock Pacific time that they could actually, 8 o'clock Eastern, 11 o'clock. I got that backwards.
8 o'clock Pacific, 11 o'clock Eastern.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if the Mariners make that kind of run, yeah, it could be.
How does that happen? I like in this day and age, you would figure everybody else. Well, the two stadiums are so close to one another, and apparently the Mariners pull rank on the Seahawks. Who would have guessed that?
They're saying all the right things. Like, it'll be great for the city. We're excited that the city will be there. The Mariners are in, and blah blah blah. Like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, is it really that hard to do 2 games simultaneously because of their proximity? Is that really the reason behind this?
Or it's just your local authorities are stretched too thin. That could also be it too. That to get the traffic and make sure everything's like.
I'm trying to think of the last time I've ever heard of this happening. If it's ever
it happened in Baltimore because their stadiums are very close by.
Okay,
like there was one year where the Ravens won the Super Bowl, and they had to open up in Denver. They didn't get the honors because the Orioles had that date book, and the NFL, they're like, no, sorry. The Orioles, can you imagine that? The Orioles, what a great partner they are. You're like, nope, we're not moving that game. Screw you. Okay, great. We're going to open up in Denver.
From time to time in the sports bar, Gino and I disagree. Today is one of those days. We have a disagreement on our Week 5 Survive and Advance pick.
And I don't think either one of us are wrong. I would present to you, hey, have you seen the Tennessee Titans? Take a look at this. And you would say, look at last night. Look
when
at
you
that
have your
team.
Franchise quarterback saying that your team is ass. That was his quote. We are ass. Like, yes. Yes, you are.
That's going to fire up the guys.
Yeah.
Hey, we're...
Yeah. The Titans traveling to Arizona. Gino is going with the Cardinals in the desert for his Week 5 Survive and Advance pick. I, on the other hand, look at what I saw last night out of Cincinnati, and it was sickening. Just disgusting. Just a horrific display of professional football. I don't think Denver is that good where they run away with it the way they did against an awful Bengals defense. Jake Browning, who can't do anything right to the point where they're talking about making a trade for either Jameis or Russ. One mistake after the other if you're the Bengals and you go that route.
Well, if you're the Giants, you're saying yes to that, right? Mid-round pick? Like, neither one of those guys is the future.
No. And for what it's worth, Russell Wilson is not a starting quarterback in the NFL anymore.
I want it to be Russ, though, don't you?
It would be so much fun.
That would be hilarious
so
if Russ
much
got
fun.
shipped out.
No, I have a feeling nothing changes there, and you'll hope that Jake Browning can figure it out. But they're a mess. That roster is upside down with no Joe Burrow, and defensively they're giving up way too much. They're somebody I would target with Detroit coming in as 10.5-point road favorites. I know that scares some people. I am not afraid of the way Detroit is playing right now. Both sides of the ball look sound.
When we talked to PJ Glasser, like when you have a line, it opened at 7. That jumps by more than 3 points and really has nothing to do with injury. It's just eye test. Wow, Cincinnati look really bad. When we have PJ tomorrow, I can almost channel him. That's too many points, Gene. I'm taking the Bengals here at home. Okay. Detroit they're a sound team. Again, danger. There are situations in life where 2 things can be true. And I think you'll be right and I'll be right. It's just a different path here.
Mm-hmm. PJ Glasser, since you mentioned it, the host of Send It In on the BetMGM Network, stops by with his winners for Week 5 tomorrow afternoon at 3:25. Insider calls are presented by BetMGM. Go check out all the latest lines today on the BetMGM app. Major League Baseball postseason is underway.
You only one error on you today, which calling for the sound bite.
Yeah, that's a big deal, though, man.
Yeah.
One error, base running blunder can cost you a game, and it did today, potentially for the Guardians.
Yep.
Skubal was an absolute ace. Detroit goes up on Cleveland, 1-0 in that series with a 2-1 win. And right now, my Cubbies 3-1 on the Padres. I want to say that's in the 8th.
Yeah, that third run is a big one because they got it against the bullpen there. Miller came in, but this is Estrada they got it off of. It's home runs by Kelly, the catcher, and Suzuki. Both those coming in the 5th inning. So the Padres jumped out to a 1-0 lead. Cubs now leading 3-1. They're in the 8th. It's an early start tonight for Yankees-Red Sox, which I kind of dig.
East Coast Dad likes that. East Coast Dad is all about the early start. And then you got the West Coast game with the Dodgers hosting the Reds later on tonight.
Which, if it were the Reds or the Mets, and this is what Rob Manfred wants to change. The idea that you have a team in the East Coast and a 9 o'clock Eastern first pitch. That game is not getting over till midnight or later. If you're a true fan, you don't care. Like, everybody in Cincinnati is going to be like, okay, we're with house money here today, and they're sending out Hunter Green, which Hunter Green's good. Hunter Green could win this game by himself. That's why this best-of-3 format. This was supposed to be the year. Let's rewind. Mike Danger, hey, the Dodgers are only going to lose 6 games. I'll name the opponent. What are the Dodgers doing in this round? What are they doing?
Well, I think they're winning. I think that's what they're going to do. They're going to win, and they're going to continue to win. I think the Dodgers are still the team. We didn't do our MLB postseason predictions.
What do you think? I'm excited to do that?
I know.
It's not the Mets versus not the Mets.
Yeah.
And look, I've taken all your shots. Okay, I've not been a misfit.
Not me. I've been polite.
You've been very polite. I've gotten the memes. I'm not the Yankee hate toward Met fans.
Can I read one? I was sharing earlier. I'm on a thread with New York fanatics, just New York friends that are fanatics of New York sports. So I've got Yankee fans and Met fans on the same thread. And really what this is just a thread of them just absolutely dunking on each other. One of them, a Yankee fan, recently sent this text out. Mets suck. Fans are worse. Haters. Jealous. Never go home with the babe. Leave the bar alone. Miserable. Sad. Pathetic losers.
Wow.
Just absolutely eviscerating the Met fans on that thread. Now, I'm not pointing that in your direction, but that is the stance the Yankee fans take when talking about the Mets. I just think it's hilarious. The rivalry is hilarious.
No, here's what changed, okay? Because the Yankees, the history they have, the Mets don't have. The Yankees winning games in the 90s when everybody's growing up. The Mets didn't have that either. The Yankees with a big payroll. Hey, Wilpon and Bernie Madoff, and the Mets can't afford anything. They're acting like the Marlins for years. And then it all changes when the Mets get a new owner. And the first time the Yankees lose something in Juan Soto, the Juan Soto hate is just palpable.
And it just might not amount to anything when it's all said and done. Like, you have Soto forever, and the hope is that Soto will play the way you've seen Soto play. But there's no guarantees. There's no guarantees that that's going to be what...
The difference here is that when you are paying that much money for Ohtani and that much money for Judge, I mean, they're the face of your franchise, right?
Yep.
They're stars. They're superstars. Like Soto, like for Ohtani, you're opening up a whole new market of Dodger fans overseas. For Judge, he is the star in New York City. What's Juan Soto? He's not a star. He's a very good baseball player. And you shouldn't be paying that much money. That's the problem. Well,
they go to the 9th now at Wrigley, and the Cubs looking to hold on to their 3-1. We'll get the Red Sox and the Yankees tonight before we get to Dodgers and Reds. So plenty of action as the MLB postseason is underway. We're all about it here on the Fan Rochester. We'll get to a round of shots next, Gino.
Yeah, what's our thought on Tyreek Hill? Like, I
mean, I'll tell you how I feel about him. Awful human being. That aside, one of the more electric wide receivers I'll ever remember seeing play in the NFL.
I thought Michael F. Florio put it like, we want to blame the Bills for a lot of things in 13 seconds. They were so deathly afraid of Tyreek Hill.
Yep.
that's what he beat him once, and they weren't going to let it happen again, and then they lost their minds in not realizing that wasn't where their focus should have been. So
garbage human, spectacular wide receiver just because of the speed.
You don't wish that on anybody.
No,
you don't.
No, I'm bummed. I saw him like the NFL is more fun when you have a player like Tyreek Hill going bananas. I mean, like you want to see that. Well, not against your team, but you want to.
It crosses off one thing that I was in the back of my mind. He's going back to Kansas City, and you would pair him with Rice and Worthy, and then how do the Bills cover Hill? And like Tyreek Hill's last great game was actually in Buffalo in a losing effort. So. And it's not going to be this year. It's going to be next, but that's your lead story. We had 2 more firings in baseball today. One not surprising, one very surprising in my opinion. We have one hockey note here, which I think is kind of noteworthy, and it sets the tone here for something else. And just a terrible loss today in Syracuse. We'll explain.
We have time for your calls as well. Last call before we close up shop at 6 o'clock. Your chance to have the final word in the sports bar. 585-866. 4FAN is our phone number, 866-4326.
Sports Update.
Padres down to the last out. It's the Cubs leading 3-1 at Wrigley. The Tigers hang on to beat the Guardians today by a 2-1 score. Tonight in the Bronx, it's the Yankees and the Red Sox. Yankees sending out Max Fried. The Sox going with Garrett Crochet.
It's fun. It's exciting. Hard to know what my emotions will be like until it happens. But, right now, like I said, I'm just trying to treat it like it's another start. I've pitched here twice already this year and faced this lineup 4 times. I don't want to say it's comfortable because it's a tough opposing lineup, but there's a sense of comfort there and just knowing the faces that I'm going to be going up against.
Bills players not practicing today on a Tuesday. There was a roster move. A new punter is in-house. Mitch Wisnowski signed to the 53. He's a former 49er. Cam Johnson going on injured reserve. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Listen to the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. The Fan, Rochester.
Cubs win. 3-1 the final.
This is going to be talked about. So this is Bogaerts up in the 9th with 2 outs, and there's 5 seconds left on the pitch clock, and he steps out. But he didn't ask the umpire. And the umpire says, get back in there. And the umpire calls and so all of a sudden Bogaerts is down 0-1.
I want to say they reviewed it, and then they reversed it. And then they took the strike off the board.
Okay.
And he still struck out when it was all said and done. So the Cubs get the win 3-1 and live to play another day. They fly the W at Wrigley. And we also knew that the Tigers took a 1-0 lead against the Guardians earlier this afternoon. Red Sox, Yankees on deck, and Reds, Dodgers later tonight.
Yeah, we mentioned Crochet against Fried, 6:08 for the first pitch there. The winner gets the Blue Jays. Remember, these are real brackets, okay? They don't reseed for this. Hunter Green of the Reds, okay? This is a guy the Dodgers maybe got to be wary of. Going against Blake Snell of the Dodgers. The Dodgers are not starting Shohei in games 1 or 2. The plan would be game 3, and then if they take care of the Reds in 2 games, Shohei will open up in Philadelphia on Friday.
Just inject it into my veins. Yes, and you were also laying out the scenario that if the Cubs win and you have the Cubs
and the Brewers with Counsell going back,
just blood in the streets of Wisconsin. Let's go.
Things move quickly in sports. 3 years ago, the Texas Rangers won their first World Series. Everybody feeling good.
Yeah.
But since then, 2 losing seasons and with a high payroll, that won't cut it. Texas yesterday, moving on from Bruce Bochy. Was he fired? I don't know. 70 years old. He was offered some sort of front office position. If that's it for him, Bochy will finish 6th all-time in managerial wins. The 5 guys ahead of him are all in the Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame. How many does he have? How many rings did he get? I mean, he got a bunch with the Giants.
He got 3 with the Giants and 1 with the Rangers, so that's 4. Yeah,
he's in. That's a Hall of Fame.
With no doubt.
70 years old. So they're treating him like this is the Bruce Arians route, right? Like, okay, maybe your message isn't really getting through to the kids, but here, have an advisory role. Stay with us. Stay with the team.
Yeah. Well, Bochy's out. Ron Washington got fired with the Angels, which I would say, who's going to win out there? So the Angels looking for a manager, too. This is from the Numbers Can Tell Any Story They Want To Department, Danger. Now, listen to these numbers that are being touted today by Major League Baseball. And, hey, on a surface level, they're impressive. 2025 TV ratings up year over year. Fox up 9%, FS1 10%, ESPN up 21%, TBS up 29%, even the MLB Network saw a 13% jump. That's awesome, right? But look, 2024, there was a month-long event called the Olympics in 2024 that didn't appear. You also had a presidential election coverage in the summer heading to the fall. So you have to... You got to factor those things in.
So you would like to see what these numbers look like in 2026. If you're saying in 2026 that numbers up year over year, that would be more impressive.
Let's compare 2026 to 2025. If we
2025 presented us with an array of distractions. We had in 2024. Our ratings are up in 2025. Thank you, Rob Manfred.
Secret winner today, Edmonton forward Connor McDavid, who is entering the final year of his contract. His representation must love that Minnesota left wing, and I'm going to botch his name.
Kirill Kaprizov.
Yeah, Kaprizov. 8 years, $136 million today. Kaprizov at $17 million a year sets the mark. 319 games over 5 seasons of the Wild. He has 185 goals and 386 points. Again, 386 points in 319 games. The production is there. Not bad for a former fifth rounder.
Not bad at all. And McDavid has to be wondering, is this where I want to be? Could we see McDavid go somewhere else? I think we have to adjust our eyes and prepare for that potential reality.
Do we want this as hockey fans?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Selfishly, yes. I want him stateside. I want what we had with Gretzky. I know when we romanticize about Gretzky, like the Oilers, dynasty was awesome, and it wasn't ever the same. But he was fun when he was stateside. He was fun with the Kings.
McDavid should get to choose what market he would want to play in and live in. Do you want to go to New York? Do you want to follow the Gretzky route and go to L.A.? Do you want to live where there's no state taxes in Florida? Everything should be on the table.
That's the thing that's terrifying, though. If he goes to a Florida team, this is the part of the NHL that I don't like. And I know a lot of people will say that the taxes in Florida, the reason why those two teams are always so competitive is because players go there, their money goes further. That's all true. However, they're both very well-run organizations. Can you imagine if you can't beat the Florida Panthers, you join them? Or you go to Tampa and you play for the Lightning if you're Connor McDavid? That feels wrong.
He could go to Vegas. That would be another place with no state taxes. I would think bigger. I would think, okay, go to either New York or L.A., and this is what hockey really needs. Because if you put Connor McDavid walking down the street in many cities, people wouldn't recognize him. It's just a fact. You got a problem.
He's so good. So, I mean, we haven't seen somebody with that ability. I don't know that I've ever seen anybody as fast on the ice as Connor McDavid. I want to see more of him, and I feel like because he's in Edmonton and because the NHL is dumb and they don't showcase their best players, we don't get to see enough of him until we get to the postseason. So, selfishly, yeah, I want to see him leave Edmonton.
Yeah. The all-time leading scorer for Syracuse basketball is passed. Lawrence Moten was a second-round pick of the Grizzlies in 1995. That's when they played in Vancouver. His number 21 was retired by the Orange in 2018. Now, the cause of death hasn't been revealed. However, Mike Waters of the Syracuse Post-Standard today called his passing unexpected. Lawrence Moten was just 53.
Yeah, I don't like hearing that. That's devastating. 53 is way too young, obviously. And to hear that it was unexpected, thinking about his family.
There's some dysfunction in WNBA. Not too many leagues. No, we're going to talk WNBA, but not what's on the court. I mean, they've got some issues here. You've got coaches putting officials on blast, and now you have a player putting the commissioner on blast. Nafisha Collier is a star with Minnesota. She called league president Kathy Engelbert negligent in her governance. Collier said the league has failed to sufficiently address issues with officiating, compensation for players, and the state of the product. She also alleges, this is good, that Engelbert told her in a private conversation that superstar Caitlin Clark and other young standouts should be on their knees in gratitude for the platform that this league has given them.
This is getting a little catty, Gene. This is getting a little catty. I don't know if I like this for the WNBA. It's getting a little catty. I think there's one person and one person alone who needs to get involved to get to the bottom of all of this. His name is Pablo Torre. He does unbelievable work as an investigative journalist. Get to the bottom of this cat fight, Pablo, and let's get the WNBA on track.
You have the coach from Minnesota just blasting the officials. Like, you compare that to the NFL.
I'm sorry for saying this. I am completely oblivious to what's going on in the WNBA. I know the postseason is happening, and I hear that the Lynx are good because I was in Minnesota this weekend, and a couple of my buddies that I went to high school with were talking about how they go to Lynx games. I'm like, oh, well, that must be fun because they're a good team and they're in the playoffs. But no, I have no idea what she said about the officials. But these quotes, shots are fired.
Yeah.
And it's getting a little catty.
Yeah, like everybody in charge there, good luck. Finally, this is a low point for one of our favorites. Today began the 4-day jail sentence in Franklin, Tennessee for former quarterback Jay Cutler. He pled guilty to 1 count of DUI, a misdemeanor. He was also ordered to pay $350 fine and serve a probation, in addition to attending a DUI safety course and having his driver's license suspended for a year.
Don't care. God doesn't care. What does he got to do? How many days? 4 days?
4 days.
Well, I mean, his ex-wife was wondering about what he was going to do now that his football playing days were done. I guess, part of those plans include spending 4 days in jail. Not to joke about what he did, because he did something he shouldn't do.
If there's one place on earth where you can't walk away from somebody talking to you, it's while you're taking care of your business as a guy. And that story was not refuted where you get the don't care from.
So the story is, when Cutler is the quarterback in Chicago, he's out with some teammates or out with some buddies. They're at a bar, they're at a restaurant, whatever it is, and somebody recognizes him while he's doing his business at the urinal. And he tries to chat up Jay Cutler at the urinal by breaking the ice and saying, "Hey, Jay, I went to Vanderbilt too." And he didn't really even finish his sentence before reportedly Cutler just tilts his head back. And you can visualize somebody doing this. Tilts his head back as the guy is talking to him and just says, "Don't care," and walks away. Which, if true, and we haven't had anybody to refute that if true, is just an unbelievable story on Jay Cutler, who, on a typical day really isn't looking for more work.
What's on tap for you today?
I've got a big 2:30 appointment.
Picking up boys from school.
Get the boys at school.
Uh-huh.
I want to be first in line.
Always.
Beat all the other moms there.
But honestly, what do
you
do all day?
I like to keep myself pretty free, so if something does pop up, bounce right into it.
So you think that you're 100% done with football?
I mean, you can't say 100, probably.
When will you know if you're 100%?
September.
Yeah, the first football game?
Yeah.
You have to realize how many sacrifices I have had to make over the 8 football seasons that we've been together. So now you need to support what I have going on. This is my football. This is my turn.
So I wonder, that was in 2018 from Very Cavallari. Remember the reality show that documented?
Should I just talk like Kristen does in that? And
She's got
everything
that
has
little bit of that vocal fry.
Yeah, that just kind of inflection goes up. It's my turn.
Yeah. But I'm trying to remember the career path of Jay Cuddy. Did he play football? He went back. I mean, he was supposed to do. What was the timeline when he was? with the Dolphins?
I know what the timeline.
Dolphins were his last team.
Dolphins were his last team. You know,
the Bills broke him.
You know what his last game was?
It was against the Bills.
It was the week, and David Fales starts that game. They wanted to take a look at him.
Oh, that's right.
So David Fales starts the game against Buffalo.
You know you're doomed as a quarterback when your last name is a loss. Your last name is Fales. You're not going to be well received.
I thought there was talk that he would do something on Fox, or I thought he'd be that guy.
I thought he was going to do Fox, but then he was signed with Fox, but then he got the call by Gase to go back to the Dolphins.
That's what it was.
So he went back to the Dolphins because they were desperate. They needed a quarterback. He played a couple of games. I'm trying to remember where that clip is in that timeline. Was that before or after he was done with the Dolphins? And
he's done with the Dolphins.
At that point, he's done with the Dolphins. So he's just like, man, you don't know what I've been through. I just spent a season with Adam Gase and the Dolphins. I'm not really looking to do work. I'm looking to kind of enjoy myself.
I've made my money.
Yes.
I've put my body on the line.
That's right.
I've had 300-pound guys drill me into the ground. I think I'm going to relax here a little
Correct. All right, we got to get to last call at 866-4326. Quick break, and then we'll take your calls at 585-866-4FAN.
99% with Advantage. Plus, you can apply right now online at AdvantageFCU.org. Unless you're driving, in which case, better wait till you stop. Membership subject to eligibility. Member NCUA. Limited time offer.
The beer is cold and the wings are hot. You're in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan. Rochester.
I got a quote here from Sean Payton I'd like to read to you, Danger. Of course, the Broncos taking on the Eagles. Fascinating matchup this week, right? And Sean Payton today, as every coach will be asked, hey, what are your thoughts on the tush push? Here's Payton, quote, I was one that stood up in favor for the play. The reason I stood up is pretty simple. If the powers that be don't want it for aesthetic reasons or competitive reasons, it's hard to officiate, etc. I've been involved in those meetings for a long time. And when all of a sudden health and safety was pulled into that, which might be the safest play in football, my BS, he says the real word, my BS nose kind of went up.
Yeah. Yeah, the BS meter took hold there.
Yeah, Sean McDermott was a patsy being sent out there.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Somebody in the NFL got to, probably, somebody got to Terry. Terry got to Sean. Sean, this is about player safety. We have one of the best quarterbacks. Everybody will believe you when you say that. We don't want to hurt our. And by the way, the Bills haven't really
haven't done
the tush push. Yeah. The Eagles continue to do it with success and a couple of wrinkles in this week's win against the Buccaneers. So I don't have a problem with it. If I have a problem with anything, I have a problem that we're still talking about it. Like this, there's so much going on in the NFL, and the news cycle moves so fast. Why are we injecting tush-push conversation back into the fray? Why are we...
It's on a local level. Hey, it's Denver. Oh, my gosh, we got to deal with this. How do we deal with this? And everything gets kicked around again.
That's right, because they're facing the Eagles this weekend. And Denver looking good yesterday, but albeit against a really, really bad Bengals defense. Oh, my gosh. I don't know if they're going to turn that around anytime soon. If you missed Michael F. Florio from NFL Network or Matt Perino, host of the Shout podcast, Syracuse.com, covering the Buffalo Bills, you can get both conversations available wherever you get your podcasts. Just search out the Sports Bar. That includes Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Big thank you to everybody watching on the YouTube stream. Our channel, The Fan Rochester, also streaming on Twitch at The Fan Rochester. Like and subscribe. You'll always know when we go live when you click that little bell icon, the notification there. You'll know when we go live here on The Fan Rochester. And, of course, you can go back and listen in the free-to-download Odyssey app anytime, anywhere for the next 72 hours if you missed any part of the show. JR Sport Brief next. Enjoy Red Sox Yankees tonight. We're back tomorrow at 3 on The Fan Rochester.